I'd like to welcome everybody to the Crawford County, Illinois Ghost Hunter Society live talk show. This is live talk show episode number 10, guys. So welcome to the Crawford County Ghost Hunters. We have a pretty good show lined up for you guys. We're going to do something really cool during this segment, so stay tuned. You guys are going to want to see this. All right, tonight's music was by the Midnight Syndicate. Definitely check their website out. But you can also check our website out at crawfordcountyghosthunters.org. You can visit our, that's our email. You can email us at illinoishauntings@gmail.com. We'll answer any questions you have, regarding ghosts and spirits. If you have any places out there you want us to investigate, definitely send us an email at illinoishauntings@gmail.com. Our Facebook is Facebook.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters. And we are dual streaming to YouTube right now, YouTube.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters. If you're out there on YouTube watching, we will only be answering questions on the Facebook page. So please switch over if you want questions answered on the live feed tonight. But the Instagram page is Instagram.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters. Pop that up there real quick. So check that out. Scrolling across the bottom. If you guys want to look at the Midnight Syndicate website and check their music out, it is midnightsyndicate.com. So go to Midnight Syndicate if you want to view their music. They've got some cool stuff. You can also find them on Spotify. They let us use their music, and that was Cemetery Gates we're playing tonight by the Midnight Syndicate. But we got a good show lined up for you guys tonight. This is episode number 10, and we've got a cool guest with us tonight. I'm really excited to get into this because he's got a lot of cool stories he's going to share with us about a lot of places he's investigated. But I hope everybody had a good 4th of July weekend out there. I know you did, or I did anyway. I don't know if you did, but can't talk tonight. But hope everybody had a good time out there this weekend. I'm going on about 3 days of like a ghost hunting hangover again. We went out 3 nights straight because of the full moon that was taking place again. It was bright. Like that was one of the best full moons I've seen in a long time. But we went out and did some investigations. Really, we went out like the 4th into the 5th because the 4th into the 5th was the actual full moon period. And there was a lot of stuff going on. I read where there was supposed to be a lunar eclipse visible from some parts of the world, and planetary alignment, all types of stuff was going on with this full moon. So we went out and checked out a few cemeteries. But we're going to try to get this going. Hopefully you guys can see and hear me okay out there. I'm trying to check the live feed to make sure you guys can see everything right now. I'm going to try to answer all questions tonight. Definitely, if you guys have any questions for our special guests later on, also shoot them into the live feed down there. We'll try to answer any questions you might have for him also. Try to get it up so I can see what's going on. Right now it's not working. So there we go. But anyway, guys, tonight I want to get right to our first guest for the night here, our special guest. And his name is Len Dorman. And we're going to be talking with him tonight about his experiences with the paranormal. So he's got a lot of stories he's going to tell us. And I'm going to kind of read his bio here for you guys, just to let you know, a little, not sure what that was. My computer is haunted tonight. Okay. I'm going to read the Len's bio if my computer is quits talking here, but yeah. Don't know what's going on here, guys. So fix that problem. But anyway, Len Dorman did his first investigation at about 8 years old, checking out an old slave quarters sharecropper's shack that the only one of several left standing on his father's property in north central Florida. Lynn was also brought up on a short ridge rounded through time to a long hill that was Native American grounds. It was near two creeks and just a mile or so from an even larger creek. He saw Native American spirits moving in the shadows from a very young age, so he could feel the African American spirits and their anger upon simply touching the old shack. At an older age, Lynn's family liked to travel in the 5 states bordering his native Georgia. So he has walked on and felt the spirits of most of the Civil War major fields in the 6-state area, plus the Horseshoe Bend Indian battlefield. But having no equipment at the time, Lynn had no real proof that he was a spirit feeler and kept his feelings to himself. When the movie Ghostbusters came out, Lynn thought that this would be fun to get into. Still with no equipment, Lynn began to explore local cemeteries and locations known to be related to the Civil War. Columbus, Georgia, Lynn's hometown, was the second largest supplier of arms to the Confederacy, with only Richmond being larger. The old ironworks, now a convention center, is quite haunted and is nearly Confederate. Is the nearby Confederate Naval Museum. That's cool. And the docks on the river, Chattahoochee River. Lynn moved to Chicago July 2001 to get married, worked for a sales company, and ran a newsstand in the middle of downtown Chicago. Looking to get back into the paranormal, Lynn joined a paranormal group meeting once a month and hit the ground running, working with every person of interest in the paranormal in Chicago. After leaving that group, Lynn ran a multi-group investigation of Camp Douglas, Civil War prison camp, and of Lincoln Park City Cemetery in Chicago. During a 4-year span, Lynn spent more hours inside of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery than anyone investigating not only the cemetery, but the woods and the house foundations in those woods. Lynn also discovered the identity of the White Lady, or Madonna of Bachelor's Grove, which I'm really going to get into. I want to hear this story because I'm excited to hear what he's got to say about that. Since Lynn moved into the backwoods of southeast Arkansas, Seark, S-E-A-R-K, Lynn has visited the Allen House, voted several times as one of the most haunted, privately owned homes in the United States. So that's pretty cool. And has recently returned and is still going through the videos of an investigation of a local cemetery, very old, and of what could be the oldest Native American settlement in North America, Poverty Point, also a possible site of processing copper ore by the Mayans known as the Atlanteans. That's pretty neat, too. Lynn also investigated a nearby abandoned hospital and recorded footsteps and voices. Being a small hospital, they had no morgue or body-ready incinerator, so they stored the bodies of patients who died in a waiting room used by the public and buried stillborn babies in unmarked graves behind the building. Creepy place that was used for years as a haunted house attraction during Halloween season, but they had to stop as several people were attacked and a few people were partially possessed. And yes, Lynn has done all of the Arkansas investigations alone, as nobody here wants to do this with him. So that's pretty cool. So, guys, I'm going to introduce Lynn Dorman to the show. How you doing, Lynn?
Good evening. Hey, I'm doing just great down here in the woods.
Awesome. Yeah. I think we're both kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So it's good luck with both of us having internet service. But
yes, it is. I'm on satellite. You're on what you're on.
Yeah, I'm on a hotspot, and I'm lucky to have that going right now because we had a heck of a time getting the show going tonight. But I'd like to thank you for being on the show. To start out with, it's a pleasure, finally meeting you and kind of face to face here on camera. And I'm really interested in hearing some of your stories tonight. But before we get started, so what originally got you interested in paranormal occurrences, investigating the paranormal and in general? I mean, I know your bio kind of said you started from a real young age. I mean, so was that your first experience you had? Like 8 years old? That's crazy.
Actually, it was before that. I could see and feel Native American spirits moving through where we live. But kind of not quite, but practically on top of the hill I was referring to in the bio.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't like being in the dark at all, because to me, things moved in the dark. And I could sense this movement at probably 4 and 5 years old. And then the closer I got to that, it's still unknown if it was actually a real slave shack or whether it was just a sharecropper shack. There was a whole bunch of them down there originally. I was able to walk into it one time, maybe at 7 or 8, and the sadness was almost overwhelming walking in there to a young child. And I could feel the spirits and emotions when I walked in.
Sure. So did that scare you as a kid, you know, being able to, like, when you figured out that you were feeling and kind of sensing this activity, did that kind of frighten you being a kid and going through that?
Yeah, of course. You know, when you're that young, you're going to be scared because you don't understand it. The older I got, I just said, I'm not going to let this scare me or bother me anymore. And as an adult, I've been, through so much. By the way, I just turned 64 Friday.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
By the time you hit 64, if you hadn't done a whole lot, yeah, thanks. If you hadn't done a whole lot by the time you've hit 64, maybe you didn't quite live right, because you should have some stories.
For sure.
And it's got where I just was not frightened anymore. So when I walk into a haunted place, I fear the living more than the dead.
Oh, yeah. I'm right there with you on that one. I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot worse come from the living than the dead. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, and cool, that you've had all these experiences, definitely, since you've been doing it that long. So I'm excited to hear some of this stuff. And I know you've sent me quite a few pictures, and we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to get to maybe some of those if I can bring them up. But you can just go ahead and start with whatever you want, whatever you want to bring up. I know we talked about Bachelor's Grove. And okay, to my understanding, you think you identified or came up with the identity to what, for years was just called the White Lady or the Madonna of Bachelor's Grove, So you want to kind of tell us about that a little and tell us what happened, how you figured this out?
I had access to a place that Dale Kaczmarek did not have access to. And I got in there a couple of nights. I'm not going to say who I was working with. Let's not go into name calling and all this. But I managed to get in a couple of times at night, which is something Dale has always wanted to do. And I saw on some photos that were up, some of the photos I sent you, you can throw them up if you want to, the pictures of the old yellow pictures.
Okay.
It shows the couple.
Okay, I'm looking here. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. This one?
That's the one, exactly. That is a picture of a former from 1870s through the 80s into the 90s, 1890s, that is. He was a state senator from Orland Park and represented a lot of downstate people at the time and was indeed the most powerful man in the whole state of Illinois outside of Chicago. Of course, the mayor of Chicago and several aldermen in Chicago had more power, but outside the city of Chicago, he was the most powerful man in the state of Illinois. He almost stopped the 18 the 1892 or 3 Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair, single-handedly.
Wow. That's pretty
that
amazing.
Is his first wife. That's his first wife there, pictured, Amelia Patrick.
Okay.
Please note the hairstyle and the dress. This is her wedding dress. Yes, that's a polka dotted wedding dress. We're used to all white, but she wore a polka dotted dress. I never asked her why.
Yeah, that's pretty weird.
But that's who that couple is. Now, do you have a picture of the famous picture that Dale's group took of the woman on the stone?
That's what I was looking for right now because I knew you were going to ask for that. Let me see here.
Can you?
There we go. Should be popping up.
That's the one. It's already there.
Yep. Pretty similar.
Now, if you look carefully at the dress, yes, look at the hairstyle, look at the facial features, and look at the dress.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same polka dot dress you just saw in the photo. And if you look at her hair, by the way, this is a common woman's hairstyle from the 1860s. This is nothing unusual. But this is not anything a woman in the early 1990s, when this photo was taken, is going to wear. It's not a dress that a woman is going to wear in the early 1990s. This is a 1860 style hairstyle and an 1860 style dress.
Oh, yeah.
But if you can throw the other photo back up, or put the hairstyle and the dress is the same.
Okay, I'm going to throw the other one back up here if I can find it again. Got a lot of pictures here. Sorry, guys.
I understand.
Here we go.
And you see the way you remember that was infrared film,
right?
They used.
Yeah,
and this was 1860s photography here, when photography was in its infancy. In fact, it had just been born at this point. And John could afford. His family had money, and the Patricks had money around Orland Park,
right?
And they had land, so it was a marriage, two up and coming families. So it was just a made marriage, arranged marriage by the families.
Okay. Yeah,
and they were married, I think, in 1862.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell.
By the way, I think I'm frozen.
Yeah, I think you are too. That's what I was looking at. I'm trying to figure out. I think we're having internet problems there. I think you're back a little bit. I can still hear you fine. I just can't, I can't see you. I don't know. Can you guys hear and see both of us out there? If you're watching on the live feed right now,
okay.
Let us know how the audio and video is. Cause I think Lynn got froze up there for a minute.
I'll just keep on talking then if you can hear me fine.
I can hear you. You're good with the audio.
I just keep going then.
Yep, you're fine.
Anyway, they were married, I believe, 1862. The records were a little bit, flaky from back then. It was arranged marriage. There was probably no love ever in this marriage. This is a photo of a photo that is still to this day in the Humphrey House on display. Of course, the Humphrey House, because John Humphrey built it. The gentleman you see right there. By the way, he was kind of a short gentleman. He always wore, even when the fashion was not. The tall hats were out of style by the 1880s and 90s, but he insisted on wearing them because it made him look taller. He was only about 5'3", 5'4".
Yeah.
And you can kind of tell his arms are kind of short when you look at it, his legs and arms in that photo. He was not a tall man at all.
Yeah, you can kind of tell.
But this photo is in. It was. That's still in a glass internet, Allen House, Orland Park, and you can. They open it up one Sunday a month for tours, and you can go in there and actually see this photo for yourself.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
And look at the house historically. Yes, it is very cool. The house is quite haunted. You can occasionally get hold of John in there. His first wife and his second wife appear along with their kids.
Oh, that's cool. They see
now,
the kids
can
now?
you throw up? Yes, the kids are there. Throw up it says, I believe I sent it to you, where it says Libby May photo. And that's exactly the one. And you see it right there. This is also a picture that's at the Humphrey house. This is Libby May Humphrey. She died at 11 months and 4 days old in 1865. She was the firstborn of John and Amelia. And you see right there, buried at Bachelor's Grove.
Oh, wow.
People ask, why would Amelia Patrick, when she's buried several miles away,
sure,
at the Orland Park Cemetery with her husband, why would she come to Bachelor's Grove almost every day just before sunset? If you ever wanted to see her when I was there, you could see her almost every day. She would come in there to pick up Libby May's spirit, and they would go, do whatever ghosts do at night. They would not hang around Bachelor's Grove. Nobody wants to be in Bachelor's Grove, not even the spirits you see during the day. They vanish and leave Bachelor's Grove. That's a place you do not want to be much there at night. It's not a good place to be.
Yeah. Yeah, we were there. We did an investigation.
But that's the research I did at the Humphrey house. How long did you stay at night?
We didn't go at night. We were there with Dale. We went during the daylight. I was going to say we didn't go at night, so we were there till, I don't know, we weren't there a long time, but we spent quite a bit out there during the daylight, and checking the place out, investigating stuff. And I didn't pick up a whole lot there. I was kind of disappointed in in it really, but I would like to go back at night. Me and Dale talked about that, getting maybe see if we can get a permit or something to go back out at night. But
now, the place is not as active as it was. And I'm sorry, that's my fault. $1 million every night to be with Libby May and pick her up because, of course, an 11-month-old child, even after death, doesn't know how to move around much on the other side.
Right.
And I've got videos of the first time Libby May contacted me. I was sitting in a chair half asleep and had a K2 beater and my little cup holder. You don't have any meter readings there. You can't go in there with a millimeter or a K2 meter or natural tri-field or anything Bachelor's Grove.
Uh-huh.
But my K2 is a special one. It's got a temperature sensor on it.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's a high-pitched sound when the temperature changes.
Yep.
And you basically stick it in front of an air conditioner, and it will. You got to have the right hearing to even hear it because it's so high-pitched. Well, my K2 started throwing a fit playing a tune.
You're when you
And
went into
the only way I sat there, how could I do that? I moved. Pardon me?
Trying to read the live feed too. Sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, I tried to get that result somewhere else, you know, trying to debunk it. I put it back in a cup holder, started screaming again. And then it started playing a little tune. It would go up and down in pitch. So that night, I tried to mimic it, to see what I could do to make that K2 meter make that noise. The only way I could do it is to place not one, but two, a thumb and a finger, on the sensor itself and move my finger and thumb to change the tune. I could take them both off and stop, put them both on and make a tune, remove one, I could change the pitch and get musical with it. And that's what it was doing. So I went in there a day or two later, sat in the same place, trying to repeat it to see if it would repeat it. This is a scientific method. You do it once, you try to see if it happens again.
Sure.
It did.
Oh, wow.
And do you know what a heat apparition is? A heat signature apparition.
What do I know what it is? Is that what you're asking?
Have you ever heard of such? Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean I've seen
That's
some
what I asked. Yes. Do you know what it is?
Well, I mean I've seen some that are hot and some that are cold, if that's what you're referring to. And I think, you know, it's like a physics thing, if that's what you're referring to. I mean, but I think they draw from the energy of the atmosphere and make cold spots to create the cold apparitions. But I don't know, you know, as far as what you're wanting, I mean, what you're wanting me to get out there.
Okay. There. But as long as you know what I'm talking, you can see things in the air. The air is not clear. Oh, and it's got dust. It's got skin cells floating all over the place. Got coronavirus now floating around.
Yeah.
And if you can train your eye to look at things floating in the air, you can see a little bit of wind blowing. You can see something moving in the air.
Okay.
Now, if you see something moving in the air where the temperature is a little different and it's moving in the opposite direction of the wind, what have you got? What are you looking at?
Right. Yeah. So you witness that type of stuff out there a lot? I mean,
especially if it's, I saw a small figure standing by my chair. Touching the K2 meter.
Oh, wow.
And then I pulled out an Echovox and I got hold of it and got to talking, asking who it was. This is over several visits. You cannot get on the good side of spirits with one visit or two visits or even.
I agree.
Trust you. You've got to do multiple times, and Baxter's Grove is one of those things. They have got to know you.
Right. That's probably
to get used to you and contact you. And I started talking with this voice and realized it was a kind of words, and that's it. And I didn't know what names to ask. I hadn't discovered living that picture you just showed. I had it at this time. And I was, of course, wondering what that was and was still investigating the cemetery. And I'm back by the pond. You've been to Baxter's Grove. Anybody who's been there knows where the pond is at the back of the cemetery.
Sure. Yep.
I was back there on a near windless day. And I look back toward the gate. Now, I'm looking at the right side. As you walk in the gate, I'm talking about the left side because we're talking looking in two different directions here.
Yeah.
I looked at the up there and saw a freak wind. This is back several years ago when the whole fence was covered in vines and small trees.
Yeah.
And the fact the whole cemetery had tall weeds in it. No weeds were blowing, no trees were blowing, but it looked like a good 15, 20 mile wind blowing through the vines up toward the front, and about 10 feet before the gate. That's the first stone on your left when you walk in. It dissipated.
Problems.
Just see.
Wow. Yeah, we're having some audio issues. When I think I've got you now.
Okay, I see what. Okay, I'll be back.
Okay. You want me to pull you out and bring you back?
All right. No, I'm fine. If you can hear me, I'm fine.
Yep, I got you now.
All
right, guys, we're having a little bit of audio issues on.
Anyway, I was wondering what I'd seen. And another time I was visiting, I think I said in my bio that I spent more time in Baxter's Grove for a couple of years than anybody. There was days I was there 5, 6 days a week. And there was a stretch at one time I was there 10 or 12 days in a row.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
And oh yeah, well, I wasn't working. I've since completely retired now. I said I'm 64, so I'm kind of like Dale in that book. Dale's only 4 years older than me too. Anyway, I was in there talking to a friend, and his dog was there. He was walking his dog, and we were standing at the front gate.
Yep.
And the dog all of a sudden gets at attention like it's pointing at something.
Uh-huh.
And it's a lab. It started looking down the fence line to the left.
Okay.
And staring down that fence line. And I said, what in the world is this dog staring at? So my friend said, she is looking at something. Let's just sit here, be quiet, and see what happens. I said, beautiful. We stood there for 2 to 3 minutes, not saying, we're afraid to move. We didn't want to make a sound. We were afraid we'd scuff our feet on the dirt or rattle a rock or something. We were just motionless.
Oh, yeah.
And a wind, again, a windless day, cranked up in the corner and started blowing up the fence line. Got right there with about 10, 12 feet from us. And it was, again, we weren't feeling any wind at all, but there was at least a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind blowing in the fence.
That's weird.
It quit, and both of us saw a heat signature walk out of the wind toward the Patrick Stone.
Okay.
And disappear totally.
That's crazy. And
what we saw was a portal.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is, I got a witness to this. And it was just an incredible thing. We both sat there with our mouths open. Did we just witness a portal being opened, close, and a spirit walk partially, 30 feet across the cemetery and disappear?
Oh, wow.
Is this what we're seeing here?
That's crazy. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Especially both of you.
At another time. I was in there in the back corner. Like I said, when you walk in the gate, was.
There's a lot of audio.
And I saw the heat signature, video camera in my hand. So and it was running. So I just put it on the spot And I didn't know who I was talking to. I knew it was female.
I think he's froze up completely now.
I said, "My lady, how are you doing?"
There we go.
Are we back?
Yeah, you froze up for a minute, so I pulled you out and put you back in. Sorry about that, guys. We're having some audio and video problems, I think. I don't know if it's on your end or mine, Lynn, but yeah, I've got you now. So
Anyway, she took a step forward and then quickly started taking a step back because I said, I can see you, right? And she took a step back.
Oh, really?
And I kept videoing. And then she moved a little bit from side to side to see if I was tracking her.
Right.
And I could track her with my eyes.
Yeah.
Even though basically she was invisible, I was watching a heat signature moving in tall weeds.
Okay.
And then she walked off or walked past me back to the front of the cemetery.
Right.
I got home. I could sit there and look at that video and play it on the camera. But then when I tried to download the video using 2 or 3 different methods, it said corrupted. I could not download that video onto a computer. I talked to several different camera experts, and they said that's impossible. If it's corrupted, you can't play it on the camera.
Right.
And of course, it won't download. I said, well, it will not download, but I can play it all day on the camera. I passed the camera to him. I said, here's the video right here.
Yeah, that's pretty
And
strange.
he said, I'm seeing it. I don't believe it. I used card, and that card with no trouble. But it took me 2 years to get that video off this card. Yeah, all I want to do is delete it. And I couldn't even delete it. And although I've put a lot of stuff on this card and been able to get it off just fine.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that's just a mystery to everybody.
I've had strange things like that.
A few weeks later.
I've had EVPs disappear off stuff like that. Or not.
You froze.
Oh, can you hear me now, Lynn? Have you got me now? Man, I don't know what's going on tonight. We're having some major issues.
Anyway, I went there a couple weeks later and was standing there at the right time in the evening. This is just before dusk. Remember, you can't stay there past dusk. So I was there right at dusk.
Yeah.
And saw the wind blow again and saw the heat signature walk up. So again, I said, my lady, it's what I call her because I didn't know the name.
Mm-hmm.
I said, why are you here?
Yeah.
And again, I said, I can see you.
Yeah.
And she started to walk away. And I said, look, can I keep this video this time without it being corrupted?
Mm. She
nodded her head, started walking away, took a couple steps and disappeared.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
and
awesome.
I got that on but heat. Now, if you had some kind of heat, a flare,
right?
Maybe not. I don't know.
So was this? I mean, this was visible.
I don't know if she's hotter or.
I mean, was this visible?
Yes, visible to the eye.
Right.
If you got your eyes trained to see it.
Right. Yeah. So this wasn't through a thermal or full spectrum or anything like that. You actually seen this with your naked eye.
Yes, I could actually see it with my naked eye.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's pretty
weird. Between those two visits, though, I went I went to the Humphrey house, and very well, mainly because I'm talking to his wife. He doesn't seem to appreciate that. And she thought it was amusing, but I don't know why in a minute. But it was after that I finally got her talking at the Patrick Stone. And she admitted to me, and I've got this on several recordings, and even Dale has gotten this since I've been moved out of Arkansas. He did get this recorded, that the female voice you hear is Amelia Patrick Humphrey. Lady of Bachelor's Grove is Amelia Patrick Humphrey. And you showed earlier the picture of why Amelia Humphrey goes to Bachelor's Grove. Despite all of almost half of the graves that were originally there had been exhumed and moved to active cemeteries. Now, some people will tell you that all of them had been removed.
Man, we're having some audio and video problems. I think I'm
not a horror story. This is I know, and didn't want to talk to me about this because it's.
Man, I have to pull him out again. Hey, Lynn, if you can hear me, I have to pull you out again. We're having some problems. I don't know if it's on your end or what, but you're frozen. I'm going to pull you out. I don't know if anybody can see you out there or not, but we're froze again. Hold on. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't know if this is any better with just me in here or not, but I can't even get this thing to come up to watch the live feed. I do not know what's happening tonight. That's the way it goes. I'm in the middle of nowhere trying to do this show, but let me know if you can see and hear me out there right now. I mean, I actually can't even see if you're talking to me because I can't get the live feed to even come up to view it right now. So I don't know what's happening. I hope you guys can even see me out there, but I got Lynn down there. I'm going to bring you back in here in a second, see if it helps it out. But yeah, I have nothing on the live feed, but I assume you guys can hear and see me. I mean, it looks like we still got a few watching, so I'm going to put Lynn back in. Okay, Lynn, got you back in. Let's see if that's any better. I think we're good now.
Are we back?
Yes, we are back. You go ahead and finish that story. Sorry, Lynn. I'm just trying to get it to where everybody can see and hear you good. Maybe they don't like you talking about it. The ghosts are trying to stop us tonight. I think I may have lost him again. If you guys out there, yeah, Tammy Joe says, I'm fine, but he keeps freezing, so it must be on his end. I don't know what's happening here, guys.
There's a lot of.
All right. We just had some weird stuff going on in here. Yeah, I don't know. Lynn, can you still hear me?
I'm not sure what I can.
Hey, why don't you want to call in and see if that's any better? Do a call in with audio and finish your story. Try it that way.
Yeah. Or that's fine if you want, or we could hit stay best.
Yeah, I can barely I'm not really hearing you real well. Let's see. You may be back now. Okay, we'll try one more time. If if we lose you and you freeze up again, I'll just have you do that call-in number I gave you, and we'll do an audio only, and we'll try to do it that way, so at least we can hear you. I'm trying to keep it going here, guys. Sorry about this. For everybody watching out there, we never know how the internet's going to be on other people's line there. So on the other end, I think I got you now, though, Lynn. If you can hear me.
Oh, I can hear you fine. In fact, you're moving.
I got you now.
I have no clue where I was or what you heard. Anyway, it was my investigations at the Humphrey house that led to Amelia liking my company because I made John mad at me. One of my investigations there, and one of the few at night. You know yourself. I've seen you do this with trigger objects.
Oh yeah.
And for those that don't know what trigger object is, it's something related to the spirit you're trying to talk to, where there's a reference there. They may be attracted to whatever you're using: cash, gun, a toy, a ball, whatever.
Yeah.
I wanted to sit there and get John. I was in his bedroom. Of course, back in these days, men and women slept in different bedrooms. Right. In the display there, I put on the original beaver skin hat that is not a prop, not a facsimile, but the original hat that actually belonged to John Humphrey.
Oh,
and wore it for about an hour.
That's neat.
He was not only attracted to it, he was very angry about that.
Probably, yeah.
And Amelia thought it was hilarious. And you wonder why a woman would think it was amusing to irritate her husband. Let me explain the soap opera. John got elected to the state senate in Illinois. This is a little bit of your history. I believe you're from Illinois, correct?
Oh yeah. Yep.
So this is a little bit of your history. He was elected state senator from that area. And immediately upon being elected to this office, he hired a secretary.
Okay.
The reason he hired this particular girl as his secretary, he was having an affair with her.
That's nice.
And they were messing around. Of course, politicians do this. I didn't tell you, but I'm the son of a Georgia politician. And yeah. You talk about your time in the Masons, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was in the JCs, if you've ever heard of that outfit.
I have. Yeah,
I was on the state board directors for the JCs.
Okay, yeah.
In the state of Georgia, representing a very large, several counties. So I'm a little bit political too. I don't discuss it much on Facebook at all. I try to keep my Facebook page all paranormal. But anyway, I can understand where John was coming from. And he was having an affair. You cover up things like this. And when Amelia got ill and died right after they completed the Humphrey house, she passed away. And within 6 months, John married his secretary. Quite the scandal in the 1890s.
Oh, yeah.
So that creates a little anger, and that is carried over into the other side. So that's why I found myself involved in is a old soap opera that's been probably going on since the late 1860s or into the 1870s. Yeah, because of this late, of course he's dead now, state senator having an affair.
Oh yeah, I've noticed a lot of hauntings are
now let me tell you.
Bad.
Yes. And this is one of them, but it's not the reason she comes to Baxter's Grove. She comes to Baxter's. Let me tell you the reason that Libby May is buried in Baxter's Grove. Orland Park's cemetery, where they're. I sent you a picture of some of their headstones, the newer headstones.
Yes.
And Orland Park, not the older ones from Baxter's Grove, a couple of newer ones. That's pictures from Orland Park Cemetery, where the Humphreys are buried.
Okay.
Let me tell you how they're buried. His first wife is buried on one side of him, and there they are. That's two of the children who died, Thomas and Mabel. He's got his first wife buried on one side of him, his second wife buried on the other side, and the children. There's his second wife, Ida.
Okay.
And a porter, I think, was her a son-in-law. He ended up with a different last name. He ended up being the family person who lived until 1965. There, I believe it says, and he became kind of the heir of the Humphreys later in the 20th century.
Huh.
But that's the stone. John is buried about where this person was standing that took this picture. Ida's on one side, Amelia's on the other. The children that are buried in that cemetery are buried the other side of the woman who had them. So his several children are also buried in that cemetery. And that's at Orland Park Cemetery. But the reason that Libby is not buried there is because this cemetery that you're looking at right now did not take burials until 1869. It was their first burial there.
Okay.
Libby, as you saw in the other photograph, died in 1865. So John insisted that she be buried in the Patrick plot, the Patrick family plot. There's Ida. Be buried in Baxter's Grove in the Patrick plot because the Humphreys didn't have a plot yet.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
So that's why Libby is buried there with a couple of cousins, maybe an uncle or somebody, from the Patrick family. And that's why she's buried in Baxter's Grove. And that's why Amelia came to see her every evening.
That's cool. Yeah.
This is the explanation of why. This makes
perfect sense.
This is the investigation part. That's why I prefer to be called a paranormal investigator rather than a ghost hunter. I mean, I don't get offended.
Right.
But that's why I'd rather be called an investigator, because this is all footwork. It's going to locations, going through records, looking at stuff like the picture you just showed, right, and just doing that kind of research. I got two computers on.
Oh, that's all right.
Either side of me here. Anyway.
That's part of being an investigator. That's what I tell people.
About the
investigate.
I went in. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you what I did another time with another young lady who's still got a paranormal group. Again, I'm not naming names. Okay. Who meet me at Baxter's Grove on a Sunday right after dinner.
Okay.
And
is that her?
So she was married with a couple of kids. Well, not her, but this is, by the way, no, this is not her.
Oh,
this is the Patrick Stone. These are the two primary Patrick Stones. That's okay, but that shows you the stones.
Okay.
Anyway, I was working with this is another young lady.
Okay.
She had her own little pair. I met her there, and I knew a psychic feeler, whatever you want to call him. Again, I'm not naming names. For a while, he's not there anymore. Was doing readings and tours of the Humphrey House. And I knew he was going to be there this Sunday. It was when I remember I said earlier that the Humphrey House opens up one Sunday a month.
Yes.
For tours. I knew he was going to be there. So I went to the Patrick Stone, and I said, Libby, I said, I know this is crazy. And there was another guy I knew in the cemetery who thought I was absolutely insane for doing this. I was going mad scientist. I was experimenting with my own body. I said, Libby, jump on us, and we will take you to the Humphrey House.
Yeah.
And the sounds went on with the thing. I said, okay, this is not a big deal. Jump on us, kind of do a semi-possession, and we will carry you to the Humphrey House. I said, we'll let you ride in a car.
Yeah.
We would take you, because it's several miles. I said, we will take you in a car to the Humphrey House. Well, the sound immediately stopped from the K2 meter. Immediately. All voices stopped on the echo box, went silent.
Uh-huh.
And I felt this weight on my body. The young lady who was with me also felt weight. And we did not know how to take this. And trying to clear something else here that may be interfering with us.
Okay.
My computer, for some reason, wanted to launch the browser. Anyway, she had also two siblings who died early. Actually, she had three. Mabel, one of two twins. I'm reading over here on my computer.
Okay.
Maud was the other twins that lived in 1932. Mabel died at 4 months old. She's buried at Orland Park. This was 1880, so this was well after.
Right.
And that may have contributed to Amelia's death because she had twins and she was supposedly quite ill. So it's just unknown in the records, and they killed her. There's several different stories about that. It's all speculation. Was born in 1874 and died at 3 months old. Lillian was born in 1872, died in 1887, which is 15 years old. I'll save you from doing the math. Anyway, we did not realize that those children were also in Bachelor's Grove visiting Libby at this time.
Okay, yeah.
And we didn't have one child on us. We had several. We had a whole daycare on us.
Yeah.
And we had to walk. You know the walk going back to your car, how far that is. And it was like I had a full army pack of stuff on my back. We barely made it to the car. We got to the car, struggled to get in the car. We're sitting there, had this huge anxious feeling. Because remember, we are at this time carrying 4 spirits on us, 2 each.
Right.
And it was almost like a semi-possession at this point.
Yeah.
Very, very weird feeling. We got to the house, and the guy who was doing the psychic there was being interviewed by a local newspaper. And there was about 15, 20 people standing out in the yard. So I looked in the door. I said, look, you got a big crowd out here. He said, we don't cut this short. Just tell them I'm interviewing the paper. I said, I'll pass it on. So I went and just made up sit on the porch, being the politician, and just said, look, people, I know you're in a hurry to get in here, but he's being interviewed by the paper. Name the paper, name the person. He'll be out here in a few minutes to let us all in. And about 10 minutes he did. Well, the first thing I did, I walked in the room, and we walked into the living room in the Humphrey house, and we said, release off of us and have fun. So we released the children. And remember, this is Lillian Humphrey, Thomas Humphrey, Maple Humphrey, and Libby May Humphrey re-released in that house when a guy is trying to have an event there and contact spirits. We turned 4 child spirits loose in that house.
Yeah.
When he found out, he almost he went past the ceiling. He was trying to hit the sky at this point. He was angry.
Yeah.
I said, look, ask them if they're here. You got their names. Ask them if they're here. He later on a ghost box and confirmed it with an echo box that they were there. I said, look, they're here. Amelia's here.
Right.
Go back to your tour.
Yeah.
And he ended up contacting them in front of the tour group. I brought the 4 kids there, and of course Amelia followed. And they are more in the house now than the cemetery. Libby was kind of stuck in the house and was waiting for her 4 siblings to come by and play with her, or waiting for her mother to show up. Now, Libby's not stuck there, and she wants to go to Orland Park or go to the Humphrey house, which is where she likes to go.
Yeah.
She knows how to move. The reason I know that is because she followed me home a couple weeks after this episode. I went in my wife where she was in the den on the computer and told her my little adventure, and all of a sudden we hear dishes move in the sink, in the drain.
Oh, wow.
And we go in there, and was okay, this moved. She looked at it. She said, I washed these dishes 2 hours ago. It moved. We had a bowl disappear out of that drainer, and we didn't find it till we were just about ready to move to Arkansas.
That's weird.
And it was way in the back on the bottom shelf. We had to get down on our hands and knees and reach back about 2.5 feet to the back of this cabinet where that bowl was. There's no way and no rhyme or reason we put it there.
Yeah,
Libby May had moved it out of that drain and put it back like a kid will, playing with dishes in the cabinet.
Right, yeah.
And how she did that, I don't know. She followed me home a couple of times, and just before I moved to Arkansas, I was taking of course, that's a lot of work moving if you've ever done that. I don't recommend it. That's one reason I'm as beat up as I am now, is trying to move. And we moved down to Arkansas and had to move to Dumas, and then we had to get our house here in Star City and move here again. So we moved twice within 5 months, and that was that. That's why I'm still kind of lost with my paranormal. I've lost wires. Right now, at this time, I cannot find a still camera. I cannot find a video camera, and I cannot find wires in the instruction book for another still camera. I've got paranormal stuff lost. I know it's in this house, but I've completely lost it because we've had a lot of construction here. Anyway, that's a lot of personal stuff. But Libby came by the house while I was taking a bath and actually held my hand for a while in the bathtub saying goodbye. Because she knew I would never be in Bachelor's Grove ever again.
Right. Yeah.
That she came to my house.
Yeah.
And yes, because I'd been to Bachelor's Grove the day or so before. Yeah. And just told everybody, I said, look, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it, but I'll probably never be here again.
Yeah.
Because it's a 12-hour drive from my house to Chicago. Yeah, it was kind of a sad thing. She came by here, and she was sad. Kind of made me sad. But she actually came there to say goodbye, and then she left. And that's the reason that I'm saying a lot of the quiet in Bachelor's Grove, and several people have told me that since I left, the activities slowed down.
Really? Like at the cemetery in general?
And that's the reason that Amelia no longer has. Yes. Amelia doesn't have to come in there every day to see Libby. Libby can go see her mother anytime she wants to now, and can travel around as much as spirits can travel around on the other side. And that's how I come up with the theory that when you pass on the other side, God. You're a Christian, I believe, from what you said. Am I mistaken, or is that right?
Somewhat. Yeah.
That you are a Christian.
Well, I don't know if you call it that.
And I've been taught by ministers But I've been taught that some ministers say you're dead. You're when somebody passes away, they're going to a better place. They've gone to heaven. They're with God. Actually, I've been taught, don't go to heaven. You just go to sleep. You don't go. It's called to heaven at the same time. When they blow the trumpets, all that stuff in the Bible. When they do that, they call the dead spirits something called free will. Okay. That if you don't want to go to sleep, if you're tired of living and don't want to deal with it anymore, just go to sleep. But if you're afraid that you're going to hell when you wake up, you might not want to do that. And if you want to, I don't want to sleep. I got things I got to do. I want to see my kids grow up. I got a kid. I want to see graduate from college. You've got a reason and a motivation to stay awake. And that's the spirits we contact.
Right. Yeah.
That's my theory.
It's a good theory. Yeah.
I know that's probably controversial, but that's my theory.
Right. Yeah.
Let me tell you another story about Bachelor's Grove.
Okay.
And I was there, and I looked up. Amelia had already come and gone with Libby. It was getting a little late. And I noticed there was no traffic I noticed there was absolutely no traffic there in the evening. And that's impossible. That doesn't happen. There's usually a car going by every couple of seconds.
Right.
There's no traffic going either way. Traffic. And I said, something's going on. And I looked over, and normally I'm used to seeing Amelia, which is short, she's only about 5 foot.
Yeah.
Or John, about 5, as a heat signature. I looked at this mountain, 6'4", 6'5" figure standing there. And I looked at the Echo Vox. I said, is there any spirits here that don't belong here? So I confronted it. So a lot of people to run. But I confronted it here. And I can see you standing right there, right by that tree.
Yeah.
And he couldn't speak. And finally, he faded away. Well, as it turned out, he followed me home. And we had a resident ghost that sometimes would walk up and down the highway. And a couple of times, he had a painting we had displayed in the house that he painted. It was the original owners of the house. When my wife and her mother bought the house, they were the second owners. The first owners left a few things. One of them was this painting their son did. And their son had died, and we didn't bring it with us. And the spirit that I brought home from Bachelor's Grove got together. He was in the middle of the night. He was looking in the doorway of my wife and I speaking as a shadow figure, and we both saw him as a shadow figure. Right. This big hulking dude. He left with our household spirit. I guess he got on his motorcycle and they left together. To find out that about a mile down the road, traffic light, there had been a fatal car accident. A car ran the miles an hour, smashed into the car. So naturally, the guy went over the top of the car, hitting the top of the car, and going for a long ride down the street. Of course, that's fatal to anybody, even a big, huge biker. I'm not going to say his name. I found out later his name, and he was he came up out of his body, and I was the first person that he saw that wasn't involved in the wreck. He wanted to get away from the wreck, I guess, as soon as he could, and I was the first person. And some places are crossroads. They draw spirits. Bachelor's Grove is that crossroads.
Right.
It's not the cemetery that's so haunted. It's the woods. The fact that there was an Indian village about 1/8 of a mile behind the cemetery there. Bachelor's Grove itself was a German immigrant town that was founded by a lot of single guys. That's why they call it Bachelor's Grove. That's one theory behind it.
Right.
So that place has been occupied for hundreds of years.
Oh yeah.
And we think that a tragedy happened there. But before they had the white men to worry about, the Indians were bad about massacring each other.
Right.
And there's not many left of the Indians that live there. There's one that comes there, has spent the night in the woods illegally to commune with his ancestors.
Yeah. So I'm trying to read comments.
So they're around the world.
Go ahead. I've still got you. Yeah.
Am I coming through okay?
Yep, you're coming through. I was just looking down, reading the comments from people. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
And it's not so much the cemetery. It's just an unfortunate chain of events where you had an Indian village that may or may not, there's no way to prove this, this is prehistory, had been massacred there by another Indian group. And a bunch of white settlers moved in, Germanic white settlers moved in there, and they had troubles. That whole area was being farmed. That's why there's no really old trees. They cut all the trees down.
Yeah.
The pond is a former rock quarry. That's why these people tell you that Al Capone put dead bodies in there. No, the water's never been over 6 feet deep. They opened it up to kind of drain it a little bit. So the water's now going to get about 5.5 feet, and it's never been any deeper than 6 to 7 feet.
Right.
Even before they knocked a little hole in the stone to let it drain a little bit. So that was not where they dumped bodies. They scraped the bottom of it. They looked down there. There's no remains. There were some headstones, and people say, well, that was just part of the painting of the sign of the headstones, sacrilege, whatever. A lot of it was when they exhumed half the bodies out of the cemetery. They did not want to take. They already had headstones made for the other cemetery, wherever they were reburying their ancestors, and they did not want those stones being shown, so they threw them in the pond. That's a perfect natural explanation for that. The bodies were no longer there. The headstones were not needed at the other cemetery, so threw them in a pond.
Right.
That's just one idea.
So
if you go there, there's a couple. There was what?
So you don't think there was any bodies ever put in the bottom of it's what you're saying in the lagoon, like the whole story goes?
Correct. I do not believe that because it wasn't deep enough. Now there's another lake further out in the suburbs, and out where the old dance club was.
Right.
There's a lake out there that may have well been. It's a lot deeper, a lot larger, and had a speakeasy. So that's the easiest place to dump bodies, is within a mile or two of where you have a speakeasy and a brothel.
Yeah.
You're there, bring the bodies there. That particular bar and pub is still operating. And there was always, they concreted the floor when they built the dance club across the street. And there's always been thought there are several bodies buried in the bottom of that bar. And I know, but I'm one of the few investigators, and probably the only one with any kind of equipment, who have investigated the upper floor that's privately owned and privately lived in. They allowed me in there one night for a couple of hours.
Oh, that's cool.
And have with the still camera. A light anomaly is something you see in a video camera. It's not an orb. It usually has a tail. And a lot of it is when something moves. The light moves or the camera moves or something.
Sure.
Well, I got light anomalies there that was, I was doing recording in IR light, and these things had long tails and were moving across the ceiling. The room I was in is a little hall. They used it for a closet, but it used to be an examination table between two rooms where women lived and worked. We're talking about a brothel in the 1820s now. I mean, excuse me, 1920s. And in that room, when a prostitute got pregnant, they did an abortion on them.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty well known that at least one woman died while they were doing an abortion in that room.
Wow.
And I saw one of the light anomalies moving on some towels that were in there. I reached up, stuck my hand on the towels, and the light zipped into my hand. And it took me 6 months to get that, out of me.
Yeah.
I had an attachment for 6 months that I had to work on to get her out of me finally.
Yeah.
And that was a prostitute that died right where I had my hand.
Yeah.
And that's another amazing story. Whoops.
I don't know what that was. Anyway. Sorry about that.
Where would you like to go from here?
Well,
is there any questions about Bachelor's Grove? Is anybody asking about Bachelor's Grove in the chat room?
I just lost the live feed again. That's what I've been doing. I've been trying to get this live feed up. I don't know what is happening. I can't even get any questions to come up, so I don't know what they're saying. I'm having problems on this end, like monitoring the live feed on my other device here. So I apologize to viewers out there because I can't see your questions. I can't see what's going on. So I apologize if you are asking questions for Lynn and everything. But I'll tell you what. Let me see here if I can even do this. What's that? I'm sorry, Lynn.
Somebody says, 48 minutes ago, somebody said, we saw a smoke thing at Bachelor's Grove last time we were there. And that's the last thing I see in the chat room.
Oh, okay.
And, there's been smoke things. I've got a photo where I was walking out of Bachelor's Grove almost to the highway. And I took one picture because that's, you know how you do this, and I'll explain it for the viewers.
Yeah.
If you want to take photos, the photo that Dale Kazmarek got so much mileage out of is Amelia sitting on the stone. It was just a random shot. If you're going to take pictures of a cemetery or a haunted house or wherever you are, take a series of photos and click, 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 click. You never know what you're going to get. And then I was just exiting, took a picture, click. Took a second picture, click. One picture, nothing there. Just a few trees, the path in front of me, and the road. The next one has a big puff of smoke there.
Right.
That I may or may not have seen. I cannot vouch for seeing it or something that was happening so quick, and I was concentrating on taking the photo. But I do have that in photos. Okay. Where I've got that in photos, I'm not sure right now. That's the problem with working alone and moving into a house that needs a lot of work. I'm become a carpenter. I've never been a carpenter in my life. I've never been into lawn maintenance, and now I've got 4 acres to take care of. So, I can't sit there and go through 10,000 photos just to find one.
Right. I'll tell you what, Lynn, I'm going to I'm going to open the phone lines up real quick for any questions because I can't read all the comments in case somebody has a question out there and wants to talk to you. I'm going to open the phone lines up and see if we get any callers here, see if anybody wants to call in and ask you anything. And I know we're wanting to get into a EchoVox session too, live on the air, correct?
Correct. I see one question here.
Okay.
Michael Straffy.
Yeah.
He said, you showed Libby's name and date. Can you show a picture of her? No, photography in 1865 was expensive.
Yeah.
And they never took a picture of their child. As they were lucky to take just 2 known photographs of their wedding. They did not take a picture of their child during the 11 months she was living. Right. So sorry, there is. If they did, there's no known photographs of her. And we're looking at the expense of photography in 1865 and the fact that the country had a slight distraction from 1865. They're distracted,
yeah,
to say the least. Yeah, because you're talking about, they were married in the middle of the Civil War.
Oh yeah,
and Libby passed away just after the end of the Civil War. So that's a lot more than going on with everybody than photographing your child.
Yeah.
Especially you think you can photograph her sooner or later. You just don't think about losing your child in 1 year.
Right, definitely. I've got the phone number scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now, guys. So if you want to give us a call, if you want to ask Lynn a quick question on the air, if you got any questions regarding Bachelor's Grove or anything, definitely give that phone number a call. They're scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Here it is. I'm going to pop it up on the screen real quick. That's our call-in number. The call-in number is open right now. If anybody wants to call that and talk with us, chat with us live on the air, you may have some questions for Lynn or me. Don't be shy. Call in here if you got any questions, and I'll leave it scrolling at the bottom of the screen for a while. And we're going to, after we get done talking about Bachelor's Grove, we're going to do a live EchoVox session on the air. And I don't think Lynn's ever done that before with EchoVox, I believe. Have you?
No, I've never participated with EchoVox. I have done it with Ghostbox, but never with EchoVox.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll have to do that here in a minute. But if you got anything else, you got a few more pictures, Lynn, you want to talk about. Actually, I've got some full spectrum images.
Do you see the? Okay, show what you got, and I'll talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple I'm actually interested in, so I'm gonna pop these up.
Okay.
Now this one, I thought this.
I'm gonna drink a little bit. By the way, this is sweet tea.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal. Okay, I'm gonna.
Okay. Pop. It only popped up for a second. I did. Okay. Okay. Here is probably the second most talked about photo ever taken at Bachelor's Grove.
Hold on, we got a caller, Lynn.
Now, what you're seeing.
Got a caller.
All right.
Hello, you're live on the air. Maybe. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I got you now. Is this Dale?
Yes, it is.
Looks like we got Dale Kazmarek on the line with us, Lynn.
All right. I'm honored.
All right, Dale, go ahead.
I just wanted to say hi to my good buddy Len. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you again.
Dale, it's nice seeing you every day when you do your own show. And I personally really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, Dale, he said he appreciates you doing your show every day if you can hear him.
I can't hear him over. I'm just trying to watch the feed as I'm talking. Just a little bit of a lag.
Okay. Yeah, it's got kind of a lag tonight. But, yeah, he said he enjoys watching your show every day at 4 too.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk, real quick about the one time we were out there. Me and Len were out there, and then during the afternoon, if he remembers that, doing that Echo Box session when we were at the center of the cemetery. I think we were probably near the Patrick grave and that area. We were getting some pretty interesting responses on the Echo Box. Do you remember that?
I'll let him answer you, Dale. Was a little bit of
I remember it well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the first times we actually tried the Echo Box. At least I tried the Echo Box out there at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. We've tried some other devices since then. The Phasma Box in particular, where we've gotten some pretty interesting responses when we were there with Jason and his team. Interesting. I'm familiar with the Phasma Box. Is basically it's a Windows-based application that you can actually have on a Windows-based either a PC, a laptop, or a tablet.
Yeah, I remember it. Wasn't it? We got a response from both Libby and Amelia that day, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we did. I was trying to remember exactly what was said. I know we did get some names that came through. We did get some apparently direct responses in real time. So that's the nice thing about these devices, and you basically get that real time response.
Yeah, that's why I enjoy the new ghost boxes that you have and the Echo Box, because you do get direct responses and you can almost talk to the spirits in real time, just like you talk to a real human being. Sometimes you get a response because they may or may not, it's a theory that I've tossed around, be able to read your mind a little bit, and what you're thinking they actually pick it up before your mouth forms the words, because your brain has already formed the words and they can pick that up. I think. I'm not sure. It's all theory.
Well, yeah, the whole idea behind a lot of these real-time devices is that we're giving them some sort of a medium to experience and to say their words and to the responses in real time. Previously, when you used to do an EVP session, you might, unless you do a burst EVP session, which is a very fast session, you might review it later when you get home, which is really kind of a one-way communication and not so much in real time. So I think as technology continues to increase in leaps and bounds, we'll get better and better communication devices.
Yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the fact that a couple of old codgers like Dale and I are able to use these newer devices and kind of show younger people like Jason. I'm sorry, Jason, I'm not sure your age, but you're kind of a kid to me when you're 64. How to use these things. You've got them, and we're figuring out how to use them, and you can take it to there, because sooner or later, Dale and I both will be passing on the torches.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping you keep on what you're doing and doing it right the way you do it. And we'll keep on to you're up into your 60s like we are.
Oh, I hope to. I hope to, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna keep doing it as long as I can. Like I say, I've been doing it about close to 25 years now, 24, 25 years. So I'm gonna try to keep going. So I started when I was young too, Lynn. I mean, I started when I was little, going to places all over. My grandparents took me to them, and I definitely, I want to keep, carrying on the torch of the paranormal investigator here. Yeah, I like listening to you guys talk and stuff and learning from everybody, that have, that's been doing this a lot longer than what I have. So it's cool to hear you guys talk. So I appreciate both of you, coming on my show and, all the stuff I've learned from you guys too.
Well, I always appreciate.
I want to ask Dale a question.
To investigate with you, Jason, and your group. I mean, you guys are a great team to be with. Very professional. Truly, a lot of places that are relatively close. I mean, if Len was a bit closer, I'd be investigating with Len as well. But I mean, he's quite a ways away for me. If we ever get down in your neck of the woods down there, Len, we definitely need to team up together and do some investigating as well.
Oh yeah, for sure, Dale. I think I'd like.
I'd love to.
Yeah, that would be.
I'd love to have all three of us include.
We could get down in that area.
Yeah, down in New Orleans.
Down in Arkansas that we probably can investigate. I've been out to several times to the very famous Gurdon spook light out there in Gurdon, Arkansas, and places like that, and Hot Springs, Crescent Hotel. There's a lot of interesting places in Arkansas that we could investigate.
There's actually 2 haunted hotels. There's one a mile away from the Crescent that's just as haunted as the Crescent. So in Eureka Springs, there's actually 2 hotels to visit, but that would mean quite a few people from your team and Jason's team coming down here and staying for a while. We'd need a couple of nights in the Crescent and a couple of nights in the other hotel. And I would love to get y'all in New Orleans. You may see, Jason, on the stuff I handed you, the pictures I said we're taking in NOLA.
Okay.
If you know, for people who don't know what NOLA is, NOLA means New Orleans, Louisiana. NOLA.
Okay.
And that I was the last person to investigate the French Quarter Wax Museum before it was torn down. But I wanted to ask Dale a question. At Camp Douglas, during that investigation, I think you said you got a voice of a Union soldier, I believe you said it was, that named one of the units that were posted there as guards. You remember that?
What was the question there? Can you repeat that, Jason?
You said that you got something about a guard. Is that what you said?
You got the unit number of a guard at Camp Douglas.
The unit number of a guard at Camp Douglas.
No, I don't remember if we got that specifically. I remember that we got the word prison. We got a couple times we actually got some voices that came through that said it hurts. And this was a Confederate prison up here that a lot of Confederate prisoners died from, probably as many as 4,000 prisoners. And we got a lot of interesting stuff that came that evening about relevant responses through the ghost box, the obelisk, and so forth that were relevant to where we were at. So it was, I think it was the first time anybody ever investigated that location. So our teams were the first ones to actually get in there. It was nice that we actually had a little bit of security. The police tried to keep people from coming through the area at night, so it didn't contaminate our investigation. So that was a nice thing too.
Yes, we contacted by Echovox a woman, and by the way, this Camp Douglas, if people want to read about it, there's a book by George Levy, To Die in Chicago. That book is still for sale on Amazon. He actually appeared there and did a slideshow before the investigation. Now, this is in the middle of a city park. I had to get a city permit to do this. And boy, I had to run through some hoops, talking and fussing and going back and forth to the city of Chicago. But being the politician that I am, I finally managed, through enough phone calls and talking to people, to get a permit for it, where we could spend the night, because of the park closed at 11. And theoretically, I had it from 11 to sunup, for ourselves. And we contacted a lady who found out in the book was running a kind of a store there. Let's call it a sutler store, and was selling items to the prisoners who were given a little bit of money while they were there, and buy food and stuff. And she was talking. She actually was. She got thrown out once. A few months later, the next commandant brought her back in, and then I think in 1864 she was finally barred from the property from doing business there. We actually got her talking a little bit. She was talking about selling and being kicked out, which made her mad because there was her income. So, anytime somebody basically fires you from a job, that's basically what happened here. And it was in this location it was definitely over 4,000 and could have been as much as 6,000 people buried there. Now, they were all buried in City Cemetery. Now, Jason, do you know where City Cemetery was?
I don't. No, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, look up the Couch Tomb. You know where that is?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
That area there where the park is, where the soccer field and the softball fields are, that was City Cemetery. In fact, under the softball fields over there was a potter's field. The 4,000 to 6,000 people who died in Camp Douglas was buried in City Cemetery in the potter's field. Now, in 1869, when they wanted to move all those graves, a guy was corrupt, of course, a corrupt person in Chicago. Wow. Went in there and got well paid to move the graves, and all he did was move the stones. That's why Lincoln Zoo, to this day, when they dig a new animal cage, finds human remains. They did dig up the soldiers and move them to Oakwood Cemetery, which is a big cemetery on the south end of town. It's a kind of a who's who. If you're a who's who in the south side of Chicago, you're buried in the cemetery. Oh yeah. If you live in the south side of the city. And they've got a huge Confederate memorial there. And it's not anymore because of some stuff they discovered in Mississippi, the New Orleans area, and the New York area bypassed it. But back when I was there, it was the second largest common grave in the United States. See, in Gettysburg, some of the other places, they're all buried in the same hole. They were basically buried where they laid.
Right.
What they did is in Oak Woods, they dug a trench and just put the bodies side by side in that trench in a circle. They ran out of room in the circle, dug another circle, went out about 8 feet, 8 feet, dug another circle around the inner circle and started filling it full of bodies and what was left of their caskets.
That's crazy.
Ran out of space in that one and then put them side by side in a third ring around there. And they finally, the Daughters of the Confederacy, put up a memorial in Oak Woods showing the spot. They've got a couple of cannons out there, a little bit of display in the Oakwood Cemetery.
That's cool.
So that's some of the history about Camp Douglas. And that's why I kind of want to wear the hat. That pin right there was the $5 that went to the Restoration Society. And that is so cool. And that Dale and I had a good time in that one. We got a lot of voices that got recorded. I don't know. Dale has contacted Amelia, I think, in Bachelor's Grove since. She will answer you if they can hear you if you're standing there. You start talking to them. They will come from wherever they are and say hi. It may take them a few minutes. But Dale, hadn't you contacted Amelia since there in Bachelor's Grove? You might want to relay that to him, Jason.
Have you contacted her in Bachelor's Grove since he left, Amelia, Dale?
Have I contacted who since?
You're talking about Amelia, aren't you? I believe you're talking about Amelia.
No, I haven't in particular actually contacted her specifically by name. I mean, there have been some locations, people, different ghosts and so forth that we've contacted that didn't necessarily give their names. And I mean, I haven't hung out there quite as much as Len have in the past, but I mean, I've been out there quite a number of times and so forth. But I think what we're contacting more or less, or what we've been in contact is, perhaps, in my opinion, graves that may have been desecrated at one time, perhaps because of a lot of this desecration going on. So perhaps the spirits are not too happy about their final remains, being disturbed. So it's kind of an anonymous type communication that we've gotten. We didn't get any specific names. I mean, I know when I was listening to when Len was talking earlier, we were able to actually get into Bachelor's Grove for a nighttime investigation in 2017, and that was pretty interesting when we were talking and doing a novelist session. We actually got a couple of very interesting responses. We got picture came through, and of course, one of the reasons we were there is because of that picture that we had taken back in 1991 with Jude Huff. And so I kind of asked a question as kind of a follow-up. Can you give me the first name of the person that took that picture? And we didn't actually get a first name that came through. We got, again, we were using in dictionary mode, and we got the name, or we got the word F-E-L-L, fell, which is pretty interesting because Judy's Huff's name is, at that time, was Judy Huff Fells, F-E-L-Z. So, I mean, I think because Fells was not actually in the dictionary for the obelisk, it pulled out the closest appropriate word to what would have sounded like her last name at the time, F-E-L-L, which I thought was a direct hit, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, Dale. Did you hear all that, Len? I know we got a little delay, so I'm trying to relay for you guys.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
That's some amazing stuff there.
Yeah, I'm interested in going back out there at night, guys. You think we can get a permit or something, go out there, Dale? I mean, I know we talked about that when we were there. I don't know what it would take to get that.
Yeah, I would have to contact my friend Chuck Williams, who actually set the investigation up in 2017, to see what hoops he had to jump through to get that, and what it would cost for the permit. I think he had to pay for the permit, the security, and the insurance of some kind. Which again, I think if we're out there if we can keep the group below 20 people, we typically, what I've been able to determine, we don't need insurance. We would just have to pay a permit and maybe pay for some sort of security, whether it be a forest ranger or a Cook County Sheriff's Police officer to be out there with us, just so we're protected. Even though I know a lot of you guys got CC licenses, but it's what they pretty much request to have that investigation out there. But I can talk to Chuck about that.
Okay.
And see what it would be like to set something like that up again.
Oh, I think that'd be awesome, Dale. I'm all for it. I'll help you do whatever we need to do for that. I'm really interested in doing the nighttime one out there, and do it legally and see what we can find.
And then maybe if we're able to do that, again legally, maybe we can coax Len from Arkansas to come up and join us.
For sure, that's what I was going to say.
What do you think, Len?
I think that would be a great idea. Now, I will warn Jason about one thing. The nighttime spirits are not as nice and passive as the daytime spirits.
Right.
They will mess with you. If you come in there, they're used to people desecrating their graves.
Yeah.
If you come in there with a bad attitude, with a little bit of hate or whatever, any kind of negative emotion, they will strike out at you any way they can. It can be a headache. It can be cramps. All of a sudden, your body's aching. It can cause you to get sick to your stomach. So be wary of the nighttime spirits. You want to keep your mind open, or you won't see or feel anything. You've got to keep your mind open a little bit, but you've got to be ready to slam that door shut. Because if you go in there being naive, you will get sick one way or the other.
Right.
Just a little warning.
Yeah. Have you ever felt any of those effects, Dale? He's talking about?
And one other warning.
Oh, sorry.
What did he mention? It's kind of a little bit of a lag. I'm trying to read the feed here.
Oh, he was saying like the nighttime spirit's a little different than the daytime ones, and you could have anything from headaches to feeling sick to just having a bad experience at night due to the different different spirits being in there causing different negative effects versus daylight.
Well, I will say, I mean, when I was first starting out back in the late 70s, I mean, I'm not too proud to say that I might have been out there a little bit after dark myself, doing some things, maybe sneaking in there. And this is long before it was scouted out by forest rangers or police. They didn't really crack down that much. It wasn't until later when they began to desecrate and dig up graves that they really began to crack down on people. But I noticed that even sometimes in broad daylight, there'd be times where people would feel ill, not myself personally, but people in our group, other people that have come there felt ill, felt nausea. It doesn't happen that often, and as they would kind of go down the trail a little bit, suddenly they felt better. Others say that when they used to be able to drive their car up there, for some reason the car was stalled unexpectedly. And if they begin pushing the car back out down the road, trying to get back to civilization to help, and halfway down the road, the car would start back up again. There have been times that I used to go out there at night where about halfway down the trail, I just got an overwhelming sense that maybe I shouldn't be there that night. So there is a completely different feel. I mean, being out there at day and being out there at night is like in two different atmospheres. Universes too, I should say. It's just a completely different type of feel to the spot.
Oh yeah, that's the way it is. A lot of places I've noticed. A lot of the places we investigate here too, Dale. It's the same way. There's a different nighttime feel than a daytime feel, and some of the places though, it's really strange. I mean. It's pretty rare, but sometimes I've noticed some locations are more active in the daylight than they are at night, and it's usually the other way around. So, but I think we've lost Lynn. I don't know what happened. I got a black screen for him here, and I'm not hearing him. Can you hear us, Lynn?
Yes.
Okay, looks like you can hear me then. I just I got a black screen for you. You must have lost video. I can hear you though.
No, the camera's on.
Huh. Maybe they can see you. I can't see you on my end anyway. I don't know if the live feed can see you or not, but I'm going to keep it rolling. I'm going to keep you in there. I can at least hear you.
I can't see you actually, to tell you the truth.
You're not seeing him either, Dale?
No.
Okay, Dale lost you too.
Yeah, I've lost me too in the other computer here. I'm getting a black screen.
Yeah.
Can you hear me just fine?
I can hear you perfect. Actually, maybe better.
Well, that's fine. Just do it like that. If that's the way the computer gods want to do it.
Yeah, I guess they don't want you to be seen right now, Lynn.
That's probably John Humphrey messing around again.
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna take you out, put you back in. Maybe you'll come back. There you go. I got you now.
Okay.
So.
All right.
But yeah.
One of the places that Dale and I went to together was Casa Madrid. And if Dale remembers exactly what did he find at Casa Madrid, he got some voices, I believe, while he was there. You can ask him.
You hear that, Dale?
No, I didn't. It's kind of like a chatterbox on my side, unfortunately.
What type of voices did you get at Castle Madrid? I believe he's saying with you guys.
Oh, Casa Madrid.
Yeah, sorry.
Casa Madrid. Yeah, that's in Melrose Park. Len and I and several people from our group investigated that a number of years ago. It was actually an old gangster hideout at one time. I actually got an old photograph that I found on Historic Images that actually showed it as a gangster hideout. And I got a picture of gangsters actually going downstairs during this time, during Prohibition and illegal gambling and prostitution. We had some interesting stuff happen there. We had some tires fall over. We actually got some interesting voices and so forth that came through, and different weird feelings, especially in the back of the building in what they call the tire room. We've been trying to get back into that place for a while. I know it wasn't. We were only able to get in there through another investigator, and I know that recently the place that owned the building was actually a place to buy tires, sound systems. They moved out here recently, and when I Googled their address, they're someplace else. So it's going to be interesting to see if somebody else has taken over that property and how willing they might be to let us come in and pay for that, to do an investigation on there, because I think that would be a very neat place. I mean, there's a lot of interesting activity. I know Len and I and others, we were there. We got some pretty crazy stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
Jason, a little history about about Castle Madrid. That was a speakeasy. And would you believe this was a place owned and run by the mob? The walls are several feet thick with the intention to standing up to an artillery barrage.
Oh, wow.
Some punk decided he had a gun and would rob the place. He walked in, pointed a gun at the bartender right after you go downstairs, and the bartender shot him dead right there.
Oh,
so we were able to walk, and there's still a little bit of stain on the concrete there where this person was shot. And in the back room, there was supposed to be a tunnel there that exited out in another building that had caved in. And in between, of course, was a bar room where they had a pool table, the usual thing. Gambling tables were set up where Dale said the tire area, that place was filled with gambling machines, primitive slots. You had your roulette wheel out there. And I was in there another time with a relative of the person who ran the place. And we using him as a trigger object. I don't have one right now, but I had some small lights that operate like a REM pod.
Right.
Except instead of paying $70 for a REM pod, these just had a little antenna and a little light. They connected to a 9-volt battery, and that's it. They would just go off when they found a field.
Sure.
And we had 3 or 4 of those things lined up, and we had a video camera, and I've got it somewhere on, and came back on as a shadow figure walked back and forth in the room. It was a pretty dark room. I didn't have any cross spectrum lighting at that time. It was a smaller, kind of a shorter shadow figure walking back and forth, and you could see the lights going. They were not going out. They were just being eclipsed by something walking in front of them back and forth. If Dale can ever arrange that, go with him. Jump through the phone if you have to, but get there. The place is as haunted as it can be. There's probably a couple of deaths there. There may have been some tortures there. It's a very interesting place. The history of it, do some study, and if you ever have a chance to go in there, cancel something else and go.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'm interested in that, definitely. Maybe we can check that out.
Yeah, we got some pretty interesting direct responses when we were there. Actually, using the obelisk in the rim room, we actually asked, what's your name? And the obelisk responded with Eddie. I mean, it came out immediately. There was also a session, again, somewhere back in the boiler room, using a ghost box that actually said, help, hide, hurt you. And another one, like it said, like, I need help. There was, we asked if there was a good place to hide, because there was, there was a lot of thoughts back then, this being a gangster hideout, that they would be raided by the police. And so we were trying to kind of play into that, saying, if we got raided, is there a good place to hide? And the obelisk responded, what's a good place to hide? You know what's a good place to hide? It says, yeah, I do.
Yeah, wow.
So, we got some pretty interesting direct responses from there. We actually at one time asked if there was somebody standing next to us, and we got a direct response that said yes. I've been dying to get back in that place, no pun intended, but I've been dying to get back in that place to do some more work, and I'm going to be hopefully reaching out to people that might be owning it. I may have to take a trip past here one day, because I don't know if I try to Google it, if it's even going to show up a new business yet, because we were there in 2012 to do our investigation, and it's not that far from me, actually. In fact, that's where I met my wife in Melrose Park, so it's kind of going back home, so to speak. So I just might take a ride past her one day and just see who's in there, maybe just make a connection with them. They're either going to say yes or no, or you'll get out of here. So
Sure.
It's one of the two things, one of the three things. So basically, it's worth a try to get back in there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you ever get in there, let me know, Dale. I'm real interested in that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, I will.
Yeah, if you need any help or anything, just let me know, too. We'll try to figure something out.
Sure.
Sorry, trying to read the comments.
The location is large. You could put easily 10, 12 people in there and separate them into 3 different teams, and they're not going to hear each other because the walls are so thick, and they are quite a ways apart. So you could actually have the better part of both your teams in that place at one time. You need somebody sitting at control center. You need some cameras on DVR, because you'd want to set up where I was talking about. I saw that shadow figure running around back in the bar, and it's easy by looking at the floor what was decorated as the actual bar and what was actually the gambling floor, which is the rim room that Dale was talking about. You want to definitely set a camera back there, because there are shadow figures that move around in that what used to be part of the bar.
That's cool.
And for trigger devices, I'd say carry in, if you got a roulette wheel or some kind of something that looks like a one-armed bandit of some sort, even for amusement, bring that with you. Poker game. Just sit, have play a game of poker in a table in there, just as a trigger object.
Sure. Yeah, that would be cool. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, anywhere in the city of Chicago, there's a lot of gangster places, gangster hideouts. I didn't even take you guys when you were here in Chicago, downtown Chicago, to see some of the very infamous places like the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the Biograph Theater where Dillinger was killed, the old Lexington Hotel where Capone's headquarters was, and a lot of the other places that are associated with gang shootouts, where Machine Gun Jack McGurn was killed in a bowling alley. It's no longer a bowling alley, but it's something else now. And there are places all across the city that have these tie-ins with very violent death. And of course, during the 20s and 30s, the city was run by gangsters. So to get those locations where it tends to be a bit more active, especially if you kind of stir things up a bit, like kind of walk in, play kind of role playing, like you might be your cop trying to do a bust or something like that. You never know what kind of response you're going to get for that. You're either going to get sound of gunfire firing back at you as you try to escape, or you're going to hear a bunch of commotion or voices or something like that. We try to do some kind of role playing like that at several of these locations. So there's a lot of very, very interesting locations in downtown Chicago that have literally never been investigated. And I know that maybe Len can comment on this. One of the other great investigations. I don't know if I kind of lost you guys for a little bit for a few minutes here. I don't know if you were talking about the investigation we did at the old City Cemetery in Lincoln Park that Len also set up. He was able to pull some strings in the city of Chicago and actually get us to be the very first investigating team out there to investigate this old city cemetery out there in Lincoln Park. Cool. We were actually stationed, kind of our command center or meeting point was the old field house, which is kind of overlooks the indigent graves of the people that could not afford to be buried, and they think there's probably literally thousands of graves probably still in the ground, several hundred probably right in those baseball diamonds right over there, right behind us. And we were a bit further down. We weren't actually right up on it, but we were pretty close to where the old high bridge, that they would call it, or sometimes known as Suicide Bridge, where a number of people actually committed suicide. And we were doing an EVP session there, and on two separate occasions, we got somebody saying "jump."
Oh wow!
Very, very clearly, that came through the ghost box, and this was either somebody that was going to jump, or maybe the crowd down there, chiding him, to jump. And I thought that was just absolutely fascinating. So, this is probably most likely a residual haunt. It wasn't something an intelligent response, but it was very interesting that we got responses like that in a place that literally there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of bodies still in the ground.
Oh wow! You guys are making me want to go out there.
Yeah, I mean, we could probably, it probably would
Lincoln
out there again, because that's really, it's not a gated area. You would just have to go into where the Lincoln Park Zoo is located, and you probably just have to pay for parking, for a couple hours or something like that, and get you get a ticket as you go in and pay when you go out. And then right in that area, as soon as you pull in past the zoo there, basically that's where everything's at. That's where Suicide Bridge is. That's where those baseball diamonds are.
Oh, that's cool.
There's that very famous marker out there, the Couch Mausoleum, the only remaining mausoleum from the old cemetery is still there. It overlooks the Chicago Historical Society over there, and we got a couple interesting little things that happened there when we were there as well. So everything's pretty much walking distance, and I'm sure even if we can't do that at night, I'm sure we could definitely do it during the daytime hours. Again, we could maybe ask Len where he got his contacts from and who he contacted. And, maybe we can. Maybe the same people are in power there. I'm sure they probably wouldn't mind us being out there again, because people walk through the park even after dark. I mean, they're not milling around, but they're walking through the park after dark. But it's not a big thing. And a lot of these places places are still very active, I believe.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. We all need to get together for sure.
Not
Yeah. You guys
to,
come up to Chicago and
to answer Dale's question.
Chicago with us and making it a group thing here because I was in line to do these tours of the Lincoln Park Zoo for a while, and the actual farm of the zoo. I mean, we know for a fact that Dr. Lester Fisher, who was the curator at the time, when they were putting a new floor for the concrete floor for that, they actually came across bodies, skeletal remains there, and of course that happened throughout Lincoln Park. It still does occasionally today, and they know that it's part of the cemetery. So I mean, even though the police are called, sometimes they come out. They'll send somebody out. They make a report, but in this case, from what research I was able to dig up, that Dr. Lester Fisher called the Chicago Police Department, told them they had found several skeletal remains, and the police just basically said, more or less, just don't worry about it, just do whatever. They never sent the squad car up, so what they did is they just poured the concrete directly over these skeletons.
Oh,
so
wow.
if you ever go to Lincoln Park Zoo, the farm of the zoo, you're actually still walking on skeletons underneath
Great.
concrete.
Great place to take the kids.
Exactly. Make it a family affair.
Yeah.
People take their kids there every day.
In Chicago, crazy, bizarre.
They're walking their dogs, playing frisbee.
In Chicago, that I never even got a chance to show you guys. Nearly even a tenth of what's out there. So, we could definitely go out to the city of Chicago and do something out there after hours.
Yeah, for sure, Dale. I definitely want to plan another trip up there, so I'm looking forward to it.
I don't want to take too much of your guys' time here, and this is actually Len's show, and I've been talking here too much myself.
You're fine.
But so I'll just let you go here for now, and I'll just listen to what the rest of you guys are saying tonight. But again, nice talking to you again, Jason, and Len, nice connecting with you. It's nice to see you. It's kind of a face chat here, Len. I haven't seen you since we had that going away party for you at Chet's Melody Lounge there, which was kind of a sad occasion that you were moving away. But I think we'll eventually catch up to you somewhere along the line. Either I'll come down to your area, we'll try to coach you up here, and we can do something together.
I look forward to that time. It's always a pleasure to work with you, Dale.
Nice talking to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Lynn said he looks forward to it, Dale. So, I'll go ahead and kill the call-in line here. Thanks for calling in, Dale. I appreciate it. Good to hear from you.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Talk to you later. All right, guys. That was Dale Kaczmarek, founder of the Ghost.
And that's a little history. And that's a little history of Dale and I, or things we've done in the past. Now, one other place that you might want to write this address down, Jason,
okay.
26th Street in Wentworth.
Okay, 26th Street.
That is a very historic location. 26th Street
in
Wentworth Avenue.
All right.
It's right there against the interstate. If you stand there, there's street corner. And what interstate is that? Is that the Ike? I've been away from Chicago for a while. The reason I bring that up, Dale investigated it several years before I did. We never investigated it together, but we investigated at different times. And he got voices, sounds, feelings. It was not a very nice place to be. I was in there several times, paranormal investigator who absolutely moved before I left for Arkansas, so Earth. They were reconstructing the place. I heard they were supposed to, but anyhow, it was a bar, and then before for over 90 years. It was a mortuary. 26th Street, if you just start digging through Al Capone's history and the history of gangland Chicago, was the gang. They were called the Black Hands. And if you remember some of your history, the Black Hands would go to the docks, and when immigrants came from Italy, they would get them jobs. You know, these people didn't have a penny in their pocket, nowhere to live. They'd set them up as a place to live in apartments, usually buildings they owned. They set them up in a job, usually doing something, could be straight, could be a little side. You put a few shekels in your pocket. Anyway, if they say you had to pay them so much for every check you got. Now, if you got paid $5 for a job, they expected $1.
Sorry. Yeah.
You expected $20, they expect $5. That's how they made their money. And if you didn't, the reason they had the Black Hands, they had gloves, paying them over all your money after they got done with you, after they rearranged your face.
Oh, yeah.
This was the game that Al Capone, when he first came from New York, took over. The 26th Street gang. And by the way, they're still operating, so don't talk bad about them.
Yeah.
And I haven't said a word about 26th Street gang tonight.
Okay.
Just but nobody saw me do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, after they cleaned out the gangs in the 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, the 26th Street gang was one of 3 gangs left operating in Chicago, and it was Al Capone's original gang. There was a guy who ran that 26th Street gang until Al Capone got in town, called Bruno Rodi.
Okay.
He was not a nice man. He did some jail time because he got caught telling a homeowner that if he didn't give him $10,000, remember this is in the 20s. This is before Al Capone got to Chicago.
Right.
This is early 20s, late 19 teens. $10,000 was the world.
Oh,
this was a big house, a prominent man. They had a lot of money, but still $10,000 back then was, this is 100 years ago or more.
Right.
That's when $100 was. I mean, $10,000 was $10,000.
Yeah.
And this guy said, "I'm not going to pay you." He said, "If you contact the police, we're going to blow your house up." And he contacted the police, and they came to arrest him. But since he knew the police were hot after him, he blew the man's house up.
Oh, wow.
But they caught him doing it and put him in jail for a little while. He got out. This is how one of 2 bombers that made bombs to blow up cars, houses, whatever, for Al Capone. And he grew up there. If you go down Wentworth a couple of blocks, you see a grocery store. And when he came in from Italy, he lived upstairs and had a job. His first job was in that grocery store. That's still there today. That building's still there. The building where the mortuary is still there today. Yeah. The reason I bring up Bruno Rodi in this is not because of 26th Street. His funeral was there in 1956, just a month or 2 before I was born.
Really?
And when I investigated the place, he was there holding at least 20 spirits hostage, including a little girl who died in a car wreck on the interstate right there. And that was just the first place she saw. And she went in there and got drawn in to be held there. Nobody, and this is a paranormal investigator, again, I'm not calling names,
right,
refused to leave the front of that bar. He sat down at the bar and didn't want to move because of the creepiness of the place. My own wife refused to go to the ladies' room. She could only stay there an hour or 2 because that's as long as she could hold it, because she would not go in the ladies' room. I've talked to guys who would not go to the men's room. The place was known for cocaine usage in the bathrooms. Smell the counter where the sink was, and probably get a little bit of residual cocaine high. That's what kind of place this was.
That's nice.
the employees refused to go into the basement. The one bartender that I used, this is a girl that if you said something bad to this girl and she didn't like it, this girl was that kind of person. She was a bartender and a bouncer,
right?
And a kind of a known street fighter. But she would not go in that basement alone. I worked with several people. I'm not naming names. There was a tour group. They got the Chicago Historical Society, of all things, to come in there and go on a tour twice, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And they wanted to stop by there, so I was asked, and I was paid to go in there and tell the story. Basically, close to Halloween in the fall, and basically just scare the hell out of the Chicago Historical Society. And I dressed the part and threw my voice and, kind of acted a little bit.
Right.
But I just told the story of the place. I didn't lie.
Uh-huh.
Told them the truth about what it went on in that place, and none of them wanted to go to the restroom either.
Yeah.
They stood right there in the bar, got their couple of little shots, and left after about 30, 40 minutes. But there were other paranormal investigators who would not go in there by themselves. They had to have 2 or 3 people to go with them to go in the basement. I was the only one that I knew of that would go in the basement by himself. Had worked with a guy, their first group I was a member of, that you talked about when you read my bio.
Yeah.
First group I joined. He went down there, and he spent 5 minutes with me down there. He said, I got to get out of here.
Really?
I've been down there with 2 or 3 others who said, I got to get out of here. Because I took several paranormal groups in there at night, and they, outside of a group, had a hard time staying in the basement of that place. Because other spirits would hang around the former, what do they call it, the table they put the body on to drain the blood out. The pipe was still there, then emptied into the Chicago sewers. And yes, it did smell of Chicago sewage because it was still connected down there. You could pour water in, and it went in the sewer line in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
But there was people hanging around there. I had a psychic down there that managed to walk in there with the strength of several friends. And she had a young child, the one I was talking about, the guy killed in the car wreck, come to her, hold her hand for almost 30 minutes. Yeah. And I could see the child there because it was pushing up against the skirt she was wearing. Yeah. And was mashed up against her. And every time the girl moved, like when she finally walked away, when Bruno walked up, she didn't like him. I could see the dress move outward. And I was sitting there within a foot or 2 of this lady watching this.
Wow.
Bruno knocked off my hat sitting there in the cold room because he did not like me, man, an Italian, and a catfish. One is a no-good bottom feeder, and the other one's a fish.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Bruno didn't like that.
Yeah.
Working with a psychic, and we got him hopefully out of there.
Right.
Moved him on where he could. We released the other spirits he was including the young girl. They're no longer there, and Bruno is roaming around doing what he wants to do, just roaming around the city, or do what he wants to do. He was locked pretty much in the cold room. He could roam around a little bit in the basement, but I had to work. I had to work with a psychic for a couple of hours to get him out of there because I did not want them to build a bank at that location.
Right.
So they was talking about the history of Chicago. You can't do a whole lot of investigating without running up into the gangland. Dale did mention here in Arkansas Hot Springs. The reason he mentioned Hot Springs was this also very haunted, and Al Capone used to take vacations down here. They even have one of those cheap fiberglass, call them statues, I guess, sitting on a park bench of Al Capone.
Huh.
And I've been wanting to go there and just at night have the Echo Box and do a session sitting there right beside this fiberglass statue of Al Capone. If I had somebody with me specifically to film it and listen in to see for what was going on, that would be much appreciated. I could do a lot of stuff down here if I just had 2 or 3 people to work with me.
I know, yeah. That'd be cool.
But since we mentioned Echo Box, do you want to go ahead and try?
Yeah, I think we ought to try that.
Do you want to go ahead and try an Echo Box session?
Yes, that sounds good to me, guys. So, yeah, what Lynn's going to try, he's going to do an Echo Box session live on the air here to see if we can get any responses. And I guess he will maybe ask, some questions, see if we can pick anything up. I don't know who he wants to try to contact tonight, but we're going to try to see if he gets any intelligent responses on this thing. And again, I think he's hooking it up there, guys. But yeah, it falls under the category of like what I consider ITC or instrumental trance communication. We're using any type of app or electronic means to try to communicate with ghosts or spirits and get intelligent responses. Of something coming through these apps and these devices. So we've tried a lot of different apps and a lot of different ghost boxes, and this one he's going to use is called the Echo Box. So hang in there, guys. If you want to see a live on the air session here, we're going to see if we can communicate with anything.
Are there any spirits who would like to talk tonight? We are listening. I know you're not familiar with these devices that I'm using. Can anyone here give the name of the person I'm talking to? Yeah.
Can anyone hear me?
Jason, I just heard your name.
Yeah. Can you tell me what my name is again?
Right.
Can you give me your name, please? Yes. Can whoever's speaking tell me the color of Jason's? I heard blue twice.
That's cool.
You said I will not quit? Me, yeah.
Can you tell us what year you died, if you can hear me? Guys are just tuning in. We're doing an Echo Vox session live on the air on our talk show.
We have some listeners here. Your time to talk.
Yeah, guys, we're hearing some backfeed there. That is the actually part of the Echo Vox probably coming through, causing some distortion. So total, I don't know what it did. Are there any ghost spirits or entities, multi-dimensional beings that want to communicate with us tonight? No, I don't know what that said.
Are there any Native American spirits in here?
Is that my name again?
I think it was.
Yeah, I think I heard my name again. Are you trying to communicate with me? Can you tell how many fingers I'm holding up right now?
I heard the correct number, in three different languages.
Yeah.
One of them being Spanish.
That's pretty weird.
And they got the shirt color
Oh, did they?
correct almost immediately. Two different. Can you, if you're looking at the screen, give me the last name of the person on the screen, not me. My psyche that my biological father or no. I'm feeling it hurt no twice.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell me what my name is on the other side? Oh, shit. Oh, excuse my French. They said the name.
Yeah.
On the other side.
Can you tell us what the current year is?
Since I've talked, did Amelia or Libby May follow me down to Arkansas?
What there? If
I think there was something actually trying to talk through different words there.
Can anybody tell us why they're here? Okay. Can you see where my right index finger is? There's a name there. Can you tell me what that name is? You know the name I've got right here. Okay, you said the word dead. I realize that you're probably dead. But now's your chance to talk to the living.
Dead again.
Yeah, I think we need just to wrap this session up. We're not getting much of anything. This is not a non-haunted house. It's just built in '85. So, okay, spirits. You'd like to leave me, my wife, and my house alone. We ask you to talk, or you are welcome to talk, but I don't want you to put my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. So please don't do that. So I'll ask you to stay away from my house and leave us alone, except when I turn this device on and you can speak. Do you understand me? Okay, I think they're fading away. So I'll go ahead and switch this off.
All right. Well, that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to maybe do an episode
Shutting it all down.
Ghost box on the air and try that.
Dear, what I'd like to do is do this where we have good internet at a haunted location.
Yeah.
I'd love to do this. Get one of the devices like you have for the internet, the little, I call them pucks from AT&T,
Yeah.
and go to the very haunted hospital in Dumas, Arkansas, which is not very far from here. I may have explained that a little bit in the bio. They ran for several years. They ran a haunted house attraction out of there, and because some of the workers were attacked, and some of the children going through, talk with the preacher or several days getting rid of their issues by going through there, they had to shut it down. I know there is one, I think the lady is a former nurse there. She doesn't like the patients messed with. And she told me very rudely, no. And then told the patients, don't talk, don't speak to him.
Huh. That's weird.
That was.
I'd like to do that.
I was in here by myself at the time.
But yeah, I'd like to take them around to different
that's something.
And do like a live, like that, and try that would be cool.
Yeah, if you could get the app or during your investigations, you've done a little bit of it with a ghost box. So Echo Box or the other Marlin boxes, that's the thing to do. You're in a haunted location. Just sit there. Even it's kind of boring if you're not getting a whole lot, but paranormal investigation, a lot of it is boring.
Right.
If you got something every minute that you're investigating, I would doubt anybody's findings. I would doubt my own.
Oh yeah.
That one day. You remember the picture with the young lady in it? Can you throw that up?
Yeah, the one we talked about before the show.
Yeah, the one with the young lady sitting on the stone, or standing by the stone, writing in a notebook.
Yep.
Her, yes.
Okay.
This was a very active day at Bachelor's Grove. One of those days that you would pay money for. One of those days you'd give your left arm to be there. She covered those pages in 3 columns per page, front and back, at least 4 or 5 pages, maybe 6, of words that came through that were relevant or semi-relevant. It was a rather incredible day. I think I said earlier that we got a baby name. Was I telling you that on or off air?
You were telling me that off air, I think.
Okay. We were here doing what she's doing there.
Right.
And we had a few very clear words come through, and she wrote them down. And we, didn't know have any idea if it was relevant or not, but it was a clear foreign English word. So she wrote it down and the time. And when they walked by the first time, we asked what their names were, and they gave them to us, and we said, no, that's not anything that's been said lately. So they did a tour around the cemetery and came back by as they were leaving. And I said, wait a minute, you have a baby there. What is your baby's name? And they gave us the baby's name, and she looked in there, and she'd written down a couple walks in the cemetery. At the very second that they walked in, she had a word was spoken over the echo box. She wrote it down, and it was the baby's name. Remember, this is people. We had not mentioned anybody's name. We were trying not to talk a whole lot. And this was just random people. We had never seen them before, never seen them since. That walked in, and the baby was less than a year old. And it was Libby May's voice. It was a very child's voice, so that was Libby May, gave the child's name because they're about the same age.
Right.
We told the couple this, and the lady walked up to us and said, what are you saying? I said, we're doing a ghost hunt here. And the second you walked in this cemetery, your child's name was spoken over our equipment. And of course, the husband who walked a few steps further on and turned around and come back and said, what's going on? and we told him she had frozen in the spot, turned around, turned pale. He started leaving the cemetery at a very, very fast walk, leaving her where she stood in the middle of that path. And next thing I know, he's out of the cemetery, walking down to the path toward the cars, 30 or 40 feet ahead of his wife, who had their 10, 11-month-old baby on her chest in one of those little wraparounds that they use.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with him. He was, by the time he got out of the cemetery, he was almost at a run, leaving his child and his wife behind him.
Oh my gosh.
Another incident in there, a family came in, 2 very young teenage daughters. One I'd say was around 12, 13, maybe 14. The other one was just a year or two older.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the ages about approximately, just so you can understand what's going on. Anyway, the wife turned out she was a little bit of a feeler. And of course they were, what are y'all doing? We're going to ghost hunting. Really? Like they do on TV? You've heard that before.
Yeah.
The general public.
Yep.
And so they started watching us. And I said, look right there. She said, where are the ghosts? I said, right there by that stone. And the young lady sitting on the stone, they like to get behind the stone at about a 90-degree wraparound from that girl, basically several inches from where the young lady was sitting.
Yeah.
And they like to hang around there. And I said, they're right there by that stone. And the wife could see them. She said, oh my God, they're right there. The ghosts are right there. The girls froze. I mean, like statues. She was pointing and staring out, almost frozen. The husband gets, I don't know if you can see this or not, but he grabbed his fist like this and put them on either side of his temples like this, which is a ridiculous position. I feel silly doing it. And started running around in circles like this. Can you imagine trying to run in circles with your hands like this? He started running around in circles, and he stops, puts his hands down like this, and the wife says, they're right there. The 2 ghosts are right there. Can't you see them? The hands go back up to the temples. He starts running out of the cemetery, leaving his wife and kids there. The wife sees him leaving. She starts taking off after him, and the kids finally start moving. They were frozen for 3 or 4 minutes, and they all run out. Time I walked to the gate, they were out of sight. And you can see half, 3/4 the way to the highway from the front of the cemetery.
Wow.
And they were out of sight. The whole family literally ran out of that cemetery.
That is crazy.
Now, the next story, Dale's probably going to be upset with me about.
Yeah.
But this next story, Dale's going to be upset with me about. Hi, Dale. Don't mean to make you angry, but just put your fingers in your ears, okay? Back the spring before I left, this was we left Chicago December 1st, 2015. And we've been down here 4 years. We got here. We were living in Dumas for a little while, just down from that hospital, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why I was able to get in there. Anyway, we were in, living out our time in Chicago. The house was, being sold. That takes a lot. If you've ever sold or bought a house, that takes a while. Anyway, I decided now or never. Now, if you know the situation in Bachelor's Grove is hardly claimed by anybody. The county, if you don't know who you're talking to, they will deny ownership of it, even though it was willed to the county. Now, as far as not the Forest Preserve, that's where you cannot enter the Forest Preserve after dusk, and not supposed to be in there before dawn.
Right.
It's closed. but the cemetery is not part of the forest preserve. So what I did, and they deny it's a cemetery. There's some people say there's nobody buried there anymore. So in the cemetery, and this is on the books in for the state of. But if people say, certain people say within the county there's nobody buried there, is it really a cemetery? If it's been abandoned for decades, is it really a cemetery? It's not really a cemetery. Why do they stop you from being there? The only way they could, what they do, if they catch you in there, they will give you a ticket for being in the forest reserve after dark, which is a $75 ticket.
Yeah.
I knew one guy who was in there at dark and said, "You can't give me a ticket." Now they will call the county mountie. They tell you to leave. He's not going to press charges against you because technically there's no real law. Because they would have to go to court and prove that Bachelor's Grove is an active cemetery, and it hasn't been in decades.
Yeah.
The last burial until that time. He died shortly after. He requested to be buried, so he did a cremation. They got a set of post-hole diggers, and just down from the Patrick Stone, approximately about 30 or 40 feet, they just got post-hole diggers and just dug down there about 6 feet, put his urn down on the bottom of that hole and covered it up in an unmarked grave. That's exactly where it is, but very few people do. Anyway, so the county mountie won't do anything to you. They just ask you to leave.
Yeah.
And when you step out of the cemetery, then the forest reserve will give you a $75 ticket. That's the worst thing that can happen.
Right.
And instead of driving and they will also tow your car right after sunset and give you a ticket for being there. And sometimes they will come in there 5 minutes after official sunset. And if you're there, they just put a ticket on your car because you're in there improperly.
Right.
Well, what I did at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, my wife drops me off there at the road. So I put my equipment in the cemetery under some flowers where nobody could see it.
Yeah.
Waited till dusk and stayed in the cemetery. Had no way home. One of the most haunted 1 acre plots. And there's people, they have some of the park rangers have come in there and caught people walking around down there with guns, bats, machetes. And I was down there doing this alone.
Yeah.
Now, one guy did come by there late at night. I did put some string, some heavy duty fiberglass string around 2 of the known paths on the back. There's paths around there. There's walking trails. I tied a spider web of places between the trees.
Right.
Where anybody walking through there that they couldn't see the string and you can't at night would run into it, and I'd hear them. Well, a friend of mine walks in there, and I heard him yell because he was walking between 2 trees. There's normally wide open, so 4-foot wide path there, and he smacks into my little trap. I heard you scream. I said, "Walk around," and he come around and stayed in the cemetery with me about an hour and left. And so I was left alone, and this was midnight, and alone in the cemetery. And about 1 o'clock, so I thought it was the forest reserve people checking it out. Then I heard voices, and I said, "Okay, it was a paranormal group that is snuck in the back way away from the cemetery." Like I said, the place is covered in paths. They come up a different path from the backside, and we're coming down there. And they did not know that I had 2 pairs of walkie-talkies. I only had one in my hand. The other 3 were set on 3 different channels. And I had them tied to 3 trees. One about 50, 60 feet outside the cemetery.
Yeah.
Another one about another 60 or 70 feet further up the trail, closer to the highway from that one. And another one about 30 feet off the trail, halfway between the 2, on the other side of the trail. And they started coming in. I keyed up one closest to the cemetery. I said, "It's the cops! Run!" It flipped the channel up to the next one. "It's the police! Run! You're going to get caught! Run!" And they went running down this path. And they realized, wait a minute, hold it. That's a walkie-talkie for us. So they come back down there and said, "Look, we're the good guys. We were just here wanting to investigate a little bit." And I could see them. They could not see me. They had no clue where I was. I could see them, and I said, "Okay, these are not uniformed people." And I had a very bright white light flashlight. Let me explain about white light flashlights. I hate people on investigation with a white light flashlight.
Yeah.
A little thing about red and green light. Why is everything red and green? Why is night vision green? Why do you use a red light?
Yeah.
Red light is a long wave. A red light will force your pupils to dilate.
Yeah.
So you can have night vision.
Yep.
Green light has no effect on the pupil. So you shine a green light in your face, it all goes in the eye, and if your eyes are already dilated, it won't shrink them. It won't shrink them or grow. A red light will grow them, just like it being in the dark. That's why traffic lights are red and green. And an amber is almost painful to the eye. So, and it makes you shut your eyes, and that's why the caution only blinks for a second to get your attention, and in color the way it is. But I had a white light flashlight, a very bright one, and I could see there was 5 of them there. I turned it on, shined it in all their light, turned it off, and it picked out the leader. 2 quick steps. I've had some martial arts training in the past, by the way. I have always been old and cranky and beat up. But in 2, I said, "Who the hell are you, and what are you doing here this time of night?"
Yeah.
And he let out a scream, backed off, and said, "Look, I'm a good guy. I'm just here just looking around." I said, okay, that's fine. No big deal. And he stopped for a second, look. He said, "How the hell did you get us snuck up on me like that? I'm an active duty Marine." And of course, when I stopped laughing, I told him, I explained to him, "Okay, I was here doing an investigation. You want to be shown around? I can show you around." I said, "Okay." So they'd never been there. So I told them they'd want to see this and that, and I wasn't getting any evidence in any of my stuff. Nobody was talking, like kind of what we had a few minutes ago, and nothing was going on. And I'd do tours of the place, telling who was buried here and where, and different things. I just gave them an hour-long tour of the place. I didn't mention the fact this was a cloudless night, so we didn't look. At night, near a major city like Chicago, miles away, you can see the lights hitting clouds. It kind of a pink glow.
Yeah.
There were no clouds. There was no moon. The crescent moon was going down when it was dark at 9 or 10 o'clock. The crescent moon was going down. By this time, there was no moon. The only light we had was the street lights. And once your eyes got adjusted, you could see the gravestones. You could see where you were going.
Right.
But that's why I used the white light, because I said, if I got to fight 5 big guys, I'm going to do it where I can see, and they can't.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I didn't tell them that. But,
right.
He said later, "I see you coming. How did you move that fast and that quiet?" I said, well, and this is the truth. I'm not exaggerating, except I did not go to the home college in Troy, Alabama. I went to auxiliary at Fort Benning, Georgia. And Fort Benning, Georgia is the home of the airborne and the home of the Rangers. Yeah. And that meant that 99.99% of my fellow students were in the military. So I got a major in business and a minor in Ranger training, which is an interesting story in itself. But I knew how to hide stuff. I was in there dressed. My face was entirely painted in camouflage face paint. The back of my hands were painted. You could not see me. You had to shine a flashlight directly on me to see me.
Yeah.
I could basically be standing there. Unless your flashlight hit me, you had no clue I was there.
Yeah.
And that's how I spent the entire night that we mentioned with Dale. I went in there trying to open my mind up and got a little bit too far and paid for it.
Yeah.
I got just suddenly projectile diarrhea. I mean, the type where, oh my gosh, and you got to come out of the pants.
Yeah.
And shooting 3 or 4 feet away from me where it landed. And I cleaned myself up real quick, put the pants back on, and I never had another bit of upset.
Yeah.
And that's why I say you got to be careful when you go to bachelor's club. You're not laughing. It's hard. You're crying, are you?
I think I am crying. Yeah, that'd be something else.
So that's why I say be very careful when you go to Bachelor's Grove at night.
Maybe I don't want to.
There's also that friend of mine who came by there that got caught in my little trip. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that friend of mine that got caught in my trap, he stopped by there the night Dale was investigating. I'm not going to name names here. And asked, "What are y'all doing in here?" To Dale in the middle of an investigation, because he didn't know it was Dale Kasmerick. He didn't know he got the permit. So I'd advise, if you go down there and you see some guy walking a dog, I don't know if you should tell him or not. Tell him, don't come here tonight.
Yeah.
Because you can get him in severe trouble. He's there illegally. And if you see him there in the evening time, just call the Forest Reserve people and give him a $75 ticket.
Yeah. I think,
or just tell him not to come under threat that you will call them.
I think he was there the day I was there during the daytime.
With a white dog?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of the famous.
You've met him.
Yeah. There's a couple of the famous Bachelor Grove residents there that day.
Was the guy with the glasses and the goatee there?
I don't believe so. The guy with the dog had longer hair.
You'd know him if you talked to him. Yeah. The guy I'm talking about is a lot skinnier. He's got some mental problems. In fact, he's not even allowed to drive anymore. Comes down on a bicycle.
Yeah.
He had about 3 or 4 wrecks. He loves the place. And I will tell you something about him. He wants to buy the place. He wants to win the lottery and buy. If it cost him $100 million, he wants to buy the cemetery and maybe, within 200 or 300 feet of in a circle around it.
Huh. That's
and live there. If he won $500 million in the lottery, he'd spend every dime of it to buy that piece of property. And the more you go there, the more possessive as the place is of you. And you start trying to claim it as your own. A lot of the drama that's even today going on in the Chicago paranormal has been caused for show tonight, giving you the information I have, because they won't keep that for themselves, because they want to charge people to give their information. They don't want to do it on a show like I'm doing tonight, they want to sit there and do a tour of their own and get people to pay them $20, $30, $40 per person to give this information, give them a good scare.
Yeah.
And they want to own it themselves. That's why do that. It's because normal people in Chicago insisted that they had rights to rent that for the first week the houses were built, so they're the first ones to have an all night. And that's just what kind of possessiveness it wants you to own the place. You have this coming desire to run it, to own it, to live there, to stay human attention, because you got to realize too, there's no power anywhere near the place.
Right.
There's very little for them to draw energy except from you.
Yeah. Well, there's a tower nearby there.
Will drain you. They will make you very. They would have to go there. There is a generator there if it loses power.
Yeah.
And there's air conditioners running, keeping some of the electronic there. They can go up that path and get power from the air conditioners, just keeping the electronics cool at the base of those towers.
Yeah.
If you walk by there, you hear them running. That's the AC units, and they can pull power. Any kind of circuits years ago, and the courthouse here has got a very interesting case. They won't let me back in there right now to completely solve the case.
Oh.
But apparently, in few years before, there was a spirit there claimed he was hanged for his horse and cow theft. There was always a creek here. There's a lake here now. They took a creek and a bayou and formed a lake out of it in a just the bottom of a forest. It's from Pine Bluff, and you've heard of Pine Bluff before, Pine Bluff, Arkansas. It used to be horses apparently from there. Came up to the creek and the bayou here, we had plenty to drink, plenty to eat, a lot of grassland. And they, of course, you steal several horses or several cows, that leaves a lot of hoof prints. They followed him down here, and the owner of the cattle hung him or hanged him.
Yeah.
Drapes are hung, people are hanged. That's the way. That's the way to remember that. People are not hung; they're hanged. Only foreign stars can claim they've been hung. You know, everybody else, the ghosts have to say they were hanged.
Yeah.
And anyway, he wants me to get in there with a judge and have a trial for both of them.
Yeah.
And that way they would leave the courthouse. Right now they're at the courthouse, and everybody knows they're there, but don't want to talk about it because of the religiousness here, and very few people even believe in ghosts here. Although the sheriff will admit, he said this place is haunted as all get out. There's people roaming around here at night all the time. Yeah. And I can go along with that because I was there one night, and the place is. So that's the only way I could possibly get in there is get the sheriff. He's running for re-election this year. I may talk the sheriff into going down there. Of course, it can't be much safer than being behind a locked door and have the sheriff of the county.
Right.
But let's see where we're. Oh, I wanted to talk about New Orleans. Now, if you can throw up, it's one of the full spectrum photographs. It looks like a guy standing there. It's not very well lit.
Okay. All right, I'm looking. Is it in the woods or where is it at?
It's actually inside an old, that now been torn down, wax museum.
Is it that? No, that's not it.
It's something about this right here. Remember me telling you about the lady at Camp Douglas
So
earlier?
yeah.
That is another story. That is that picture you just. Okay. Look at this picture for a second.
Okay.
Now, if you shrink that picture and look at the white part, plantation in the I think 1820s, 1830s. The further you blow the picture up, the less it looks like a lady.
Uh-huh.
Now, is this something paranormal or is it pareidolia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I don't know. I would probably call it.
That's an example right there of.
Go ahead, Lynn. What'd you say?
I said I think that's an example of pareidolia. I think I'm pronouncing it right, where your eyes are just trying to see a face.
Yeah, that's kind
Well,
of
that was taken in the Magnolia Plantation.
Right. Yeah,
that's taken in the Magnolia Plantation just outside New Orleans.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I would probably consider that pareidolia, but matrixing, just a form.
Now the other.
Go ahead.
I'm agreeing with you. Now the other picture you show with a group of people standing around the echo box.
Yeah.
The pink picture. When I was talking with Dale, I brought up that we made contact with the lady who had the Sutter store.
Okay.
Yes, the Sutter store in Camp Douglas.
Uh-huh.
And it was approximately this location. This was outside the park. This was public area. They let us go in here. Security kind of kept an eye on us, but we were basically public territory here. You're allowed to walk through all times of night. This was close to where she had her Sutter store, and this is where she was talking. We actually got her talking about her store and being kicked out of Camp Douglas.
Oh, wow.
Behind, I forget exactly which direction that was speaking of, but there was a small college there that became a little bit bigger. You may have heard of the University of Chicago.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
President Obama taught there. His wife graduated from there.
Yeah.
It was just getting started when Camp Douglas was made a prison camp, and they put their tuberculosis hospital right next to the University of Chicago building, which is where a grocery store sits now. So we're not too far, within a few yards of where the tuberculosis hospital was.
Oh, that's
the
cool.
hospital was almost, the university was almost up against the hospital. And of course, in the Chicago summer, they all had their windows open. So there were people getting sick inside the University of Chicago. Open a few miles down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was the story behind that picture.
Okay.
And you see the young lady's arm there on my right when I was looking at the photo?
Yeah.
That's the same young. The girl right there on the right.
Yeah.
That's the same young lady who was behind. She was still working with me here.
Okay. Okay.
She was looking for a new boyfriend at the time, and of course I was married, so she was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah. Good.
I always end up seeing them work with women, and my wife still talks with her on Facebook.
Really?
I don't say anything. I don't say anything to her. Yeah, I was a little bit upset with her because technically she owes me about $20 for a book, and all those writings that she wrote down.
Yeah.
At Bachelor's Grove. She
Yeah.
took them with her, and I've never seen them since.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, you should have got copies of that.
Okay.
I want to.
Yeah, I should have got a copy. I should have got the originals and given her photostats of it or something, because it would have done me a lot of good trying to figure out the video, because I videoed the whole thing.
Yeah.
I got some long videos. Some of them are posted on YouTube still.
Are they?
I've lost the password to that account, so I don't really give it out. But I've got over an hour Bachelor's Grove. Oh, and the one at the museum, there was a guy named Fred that was following me around all night long that was talking. I was in the elevator. The place was a former beer manufacturer.
Okay.
And they of course brewed the raw materials in the first floor, and their brewery was on the second floor. So they moved the raw materials up a flight, made the beer, and the beer was sitting there in cases and pallets, whatever. And of course, they rather than carrying it downstairs, they built an elevator right at the street level, where they just opened the bay door, and the old Model T trucks would drive out. But to load the truck up, rather than carrying the beer downstairs, they built this elevator to raise it up one floor, where they just load the truck right there. A lot easier. Pack it full of beer. Well, I was on this elevator with 10, 12 people. And this one guy had never been on a ghost hunt before in his life, sitting there with a K2 meter that would not stop flashing.
Good.
And they'd cut the power off in this area. And I mean, not just so we couldn't move the elevator. So we would bump up against the handle, and all of a sudden we'd drop down the floor. And we also couldn't cut on any lights. Couldn't find the lights. We let's turn on the lights. And his K2 meter would not stop. He'd hold it at arm's length. It was a real skeptic, and put it over to me, and it stopped. He walked over to where I was, it stopped. Then he walked back to his fiance, and it would crank back up again. And I finally said, I say Frank earlier, that guy Frank was doing it.
Yeah.
I said, okay, who is it standing behind? What is your name? He's got the same name you have. I said, what is your name? He said, Jason. I said, okay. Who is standing by Jason? And a woman's voice came on the clearest day. Fred is. And the whole crowd stopped. I said, Fred, are you standing beside Jason? He said, yes, I am. Clear as a bell, and just like I said it, about that quick.
Wow.
The guy wanted to run out of the room, but his fiance didn't want to leave. And then he remembered when he opened the door that he had to run about 60. Remember, this former brewery had to run 60 or 70 feet through a dark room, making 2 90-degree turns to run around some stuff. It was used as a place for weddings. Yeah. And had all kinds of furniture and chairs scattered out there. We had to run around all that stuff, and then find a stairwell in the dark that was not lit. Run down a completely dark stairwell. And remember, he had no flashlight. And get downstairs before he could find anybody. And so he decided not to run. But the ghost I was talking to just scared the hell out of him, and everybody left me alone in there, and everybody kind of quit talking. So I decided, okay, it's break time. So I walked downstairs, and people were gathered around, and it turned out while I was upstairs alone, tour guides, he said, "Look, when I walked in this place, I was a skeptic. I did not believe in ghosts." That man upstairs, talking about me, convinced me that there is such a thing as ghosts. He proved it to me. That's cool. Everybody left at this time but me, and they let me stay in a haunted wax museum for 2.5 hours, absolutely alone, and locked me in the back, and I didn't know it. And I was in the back talking. And that one picture that I showed you of a guy that was showing the Battle of New Orleans in wax figures
You sent that to me?
that I took. Yes. They had the dungeon that was, you remember the old classic horror movies, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula,
Yeah.
the creature from the Black Lagoon. They
Oh,
had
yeah.
all that set up in the back, and I was walking there, got all this on video, walking around with these classic monsters in pitch blackness, and the only way you could see the creatures was the IR light that I had.
Yeah.
And I was in there locked away by myself, and I talked to several people who done the paranormal before. They said there's no way they were going to lock me in a wax museum in the dark, and I did that.
Yeah. That's funny. What was that picture? I can't find it. What it looked like?
And I was on I was it's very red because I did have a red flashlight with me, and
Not
so it's
this
very
picture.
red, and took them with a full spectrum camera, so it's very, very reddish pink. That's it. There you go.
Okay, there
That's
you go.
a wax figure representing that was part of a display of the Battle of New Orleans with Andrew Jackson.
That's cool.
And I got a picture of they had Napoleon in a bathtub. They had a lot of stuff in that wax museum. It's a shame it's been torn down and is now being turned into condominiums. That I've done some research on that place, and this is like Bachelor's Grove. This is New Orleans is a crossroads anyway for spirits. But this particular location is really bad. It's in the French Quarter, and whoever lives there, God bless them, because they're going to be living in haunted condos as long as they live in that building. Now there was a girl that was her first night, and she met me on that first night. She had never done a tour before. She was a new tour guide in New Orleans, and we met that night. She's attractive young lady with a mohawk, green mohawk, and we met at the wax museum. Later, I was working with a group again, obviously with them telling them they remembered my name, and I went on another group with them to the Jackson Hotel. Yes, the Andrew Jackson Hotel, one of the most haunted hotels in New Orleans in the French Quarter. And I had run of it for 2 nights. But we also went to former slave quarters down the street. And I'm hoping you're hearing me because I don't see you at all. Anyway, I was in there, fired up Echo Vox there in the first floor of the former slave quarters, and was talking to the resident spirit. His name escapes me right now. And I got him talking. The tour guide, the girl that I met at the wax museum, took some people upstairs to see about upstairs, and there wasn't anything upstairs. She come back in, and I had the spirit talking. And she said, "Oh my gosh, you're sitting there talking. This is the first time in years I've heard your voice." And he said, "Why don't you talk to me more often? Don't you like me?" And I said, called her by name. I said, don't you like her? She's a nice person. And the spirit said, in front of about 30 people on a tour, says, "She talks too much."
Yeah.
You can imagine leading a tour, and the ghost you have that you're talking to says, "You talk too much."
That's funny.
And I was about to just croak at that point, but I kept on going. At the back of the Jackson Hotel, we had the Oriental gentleman in the picture you saw in the room with the equipment on the bed.
Yes.
The guy turning around looking at me over his shoulder. You flashed it up. That was in one of the most haunted rooms in the Jackson Hotel in New Orleans. He walked in a room by himself. He never did pull that trick again. He walked in the room.
This one?
And there he is. Yes. He was a first-time ghost hunter. And he was told to follow me around by this same young lady because I was experienced. And that's my millimeter on the bed and some of my other equipment. And he walked in this room by himself and only armed with a voice recorder that he's got in his hand. And he was in there about 3 or 4 minutes and came running out screaming like a 5-year-old girl, really high pitched, really high pitched noise. And something growled at me in that room. I said, "What?" I said, "And you ran?" If something growls at me, I'm gonna say, "Can you do that again?" But he went running out, waving his hands, and said, "Something growled at me." He said, "I think I got it on tape." I said, "Run it back." He ran it back, and it was a nasty growl. Now, again, I was not in the room with him. He could have faked this, but I don't think so. This guy, I'm not going to say what show he worked with. He's one of the background people that moves equipment around for a popular show on TV.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
And he'd never done any ghost hunting on his own. He was just in New Orleans checking out a couple of places. And he checked out the wrong place and had the wrong and a known haunted location because something's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
And he found out that it did. Yeah. I've had some interesting times. There was a ghost in the room. I was talking about Dale, I think Dale too, on his show. And the mail meter was registering anywhere from a 1.8 to a 2.5 and a chair in the middle of the room. And Dale and I were talking that 100 years old or more. And you got to really question the wiring in these places. And some of the old ways they did the wiring leaked a lot. Dale explained it beautifully on his show about some of the extra wiring they put in there to kind of ground the place that they just put in homes 50, 60 years ago to wire places up because there were no real electricians at this point. They were just kind of guessing work, and they put stuff in there to make it work. And they had to run 4, 5, or 6 wires around there and ground them. That's just the way it was. Anyway, you can't trust the wiring in that older building, but the mail meter would not react near the chandelier in the ceiling, would not react next to the wall. I put it by every plug in the room. It would not react. Put it by the lamps on either side of the beds. It would not come on at all. But I put it back in the chair. It popped back up between 1.5 and 2.5.
Huh.
And so I broke out Echovox. I said, "Okay, who is sitting in this chair?" He gave me his name. And if we turn on Echovox in the room, when we walked in, he would actually say hi when we walked back in the room.
Oh, wow. That's pretty weird.
Yeah, Gail is like I am. She knows ghosts exist. She's been a little bit of a sensitive, and that she was watching the 2 nights I was investigating other locations in the Andrew Jackson. She was watching Game of Thrones. She was binge watching it on a pad. The ghost actually came around and was talking where she could hear it with her ears, not Echovox. She could hear it with her ears. Him speaking about Game of Thrones on a pad. He was watching it with her.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Well, I was out ghost hunting. The wife was entertaining one. If you ever get a chance, now occasionally that group I've worked with a couple of times before goes into the Jackson. Now it's expensive. You've got to pay for a hotel room. The hotel rooms and they're expensive. Can't do it right now. There's because of the corona.
Right.
But when they open back up, New Orleans right now would love people to come down there. I wish I had the money and the time to go down there and just stay for a while. because I could hit a lot of the tours and a lot of their buildings and just be me and equipment.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But if you ever get a chance to go to the Andrew Jackson Hotel, look up the Andrew Jackson Hotel. You can see it's one of the most haunted hotels in one of the most haunted cities in this country. It's a marvelous city to go in with. Gail had never been there, and soon after we came to Arkansas, we went down there 3 times, staying a total. The Andrew Jackson, we only stayed 2 nights, but 2 other trips, we stayed a total of about 4 weeks down in New Orleans on 2 different occasions, and got some amazing evidence. That Magnolia Plantation, there's ghosts walk around the house, of course, old plantation. They got those slave quarters out there that you can actually rent and spend the night in those quarters. Now, you can't go in the house at night. The house is only open for tours. But if you stay there for 2 or 3 nights, you can go on every tour they have inside the house. And at night, you're staying in a former slave quarters that's been restored up to at least a halfway reasonable hotel room outside, and walk the grounds. Of course, you're renting the place. And that's something else to look into. That'd be something Dale and I could do together, because we don't have jobs to report to. And just, of course, it's just a matter of the money, because if you're paying well over $100 a night for this shack, and you're not getting much sleep, because daytime's kind of hard to sleep in there with people roaming around all day and tours going in and out. They've also got a very good restaurant there. It's a separate building. It's a newer building, but it has its own history. Next to just 100 yards from the main house, very very good food, and you stay there in one of the shacks and investigate all night long, and eat Louisiana cooking all day.
Heck yeah, sounds good to me.
It's just going to cost you several $100. So that New Orleans is a great time to visit. If you ever have the chance, Dale would probably give his right arm to come down to New Orleans and visit, especially with me knowing so much of the city and who to work with. I went to, you've heard of in St. Louis Cemetery, Marie Laveau. I went down there and established a relationship. I established a relationship with her and talked about it, and that's why the ghosts are receptive to me there, because I spoke with her first. Didn't have to, you can go to anywhere and investigate. Spirits can't stop you, but she is a very powerful spirit on the other side, and I kind of got her permission, her blessing to go there and investigate. And there was somebody creating some issues on the other side, and I got her help, her warning that somebody was coming up that was very, very bad, and I had to go put them down.
Yeah,
I had to violently get rid of the spirit, because he was attacking friends of mine. One in Philadelphia, outside Philadelphia, another one in Nevada. No, excuse me, I said Nevada, New Mexico, and was attacking people at that kind of range, and I had to work a little bit with Marie Laveau to get rid of him. He's his great grandson actually had a TV show about him.
We got about 25 left, Lynn. For the 4-hour mark, it kicks you off. So about 4 hours is all we can go without starting a new one. So,
okay. What else you want to talk about?
I don't know. We covered a lot of stuff. Did you ever go ahead and explain this picture to me? Or did we go off track? With,
no, I did not. Okay. Yes, we did.
Go ahead.
We went off track. You're correct. Foreground on tripod. Those are my tripods, my cameras. You see, I've got You also see a person in a white hat. Of course, everything looks pink, so everybody's wearing a pink shirt.
Yeah.
It looks like something over their shoulder. That's me.
Right. Okay.
Walking through Bachelor's Grove, a fairly sized, big, healthy girl almost directly behind me. Standing
Yes.
she's several yards in front of that tree, but she's right in front of the tree from this view. He's got white print on his shirt with his arms crossed.
Right.
Because the middle one's a woman.
Yeah. Right.
The woman and the man of the picture, because I was taking a picture of me walking for whatever reason. You notice a little yellow arrow pointing to the fourth person.
Yes.
That is not a person. They were not standing there.
Really?
He took a series of pictures, and I got three pictures with that person in the picture. The fourth one did not. It's a picture of me walking, and you can see where I was walking. The other two people moved slightly, shifting their feet, maybe taking a little step.
Yeah.
But I had taken several steps closer to the photographer. That person was not there when I left, or when I walked away from the people, because I just finished talking with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And was not there to the naked eye.
Yeah, I'd been looking at that when you sent it to me, and I tried to figure out.
I don't know who
there, Matrix, but it doesn't appear to be.
It looks like a person.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you notice there's not much bottom part to him.
I know. Yeah.
To the naked eye, that person was not there. There is nothing. There was nothing. That's above my cameras is the gate coming in to the cemetery.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And if you look there by the Dorman stone, obviously Holman is a German name, and sometimes you fire up a ghost box or an echo box there by that stone, they will talk to you back in German. So if you don't know any German, you'll be lost in the conversation really quick or not regularly recognizing his words. But they may be answering you, but in German. Sometimes they speak English, sometimes it's German, cool. Sometimes it's a few English words and a few German words. Yeah, some people. Yeah. Echovox on other channels has the consonants. They just put the sound in Echovox.
Right.
So when you hear a complete word in Echovox, it's not something they have. They don't have any complete words in there, just basic sounds. And the other channels, they've got European language. They got Spanish. When you're on the English channel, it should be able to say anything in German. And I've gotten the people who bought our house were Latino, and we did a little thing. They were wondering what I was doing, and after a few beers, and we got a couple people talking in Spanish, and on the main channel in Echovox, there's no Spanish sounds. So if you hear, there's just no way that the Echovox has any capability of forming that word. And if you have said it, it can't be a repeating of your own voice.
Right.
And that's the same about the Holloman Stone. Now it's a very weird picture, but you said it could be pareidolia, and you're correct. It could be. It's not as dramatic as Dale's picture, but it's very interesting there at Bachelor's Grove. Now, if you look over my main Facebook page, you'll see the one guy I was talking about that I said he had a couple of accidents. He was really beaten in the head. He's not quite right. He can't drive a car anymore. But he does not believe in anything in the paranormal. But we were talking about the paranormal, obviously, in Bachelor's Grove. So he walked away from us. because he didn't want to hear about the ghost anymore. He's kind of walking around.
Right.
He's the one I said in that photo, which is the head of my Facebook page. One figure looks like they're behind the tree or part of the tree. He was standing there alone. Now, that could have been a shirt tacked up to the tree, although I did not see a shirt there.
Yeah, yeah.
It could have been something. It could be pareidolia,
Right.
but it looks like the upper part of. And I was there
Oh, yeah.
Not this one.
I
was there obviously when this picture was taken, but I was also there and took the photo of the other one. And
did you send it to me?
And I did not see anybody standing there, and there was nobody. I don't. It's the not the tiny picture. Tiny pictures are taken of me right outside the gate. There's a story with that too. I'll get back to it in a second.
Okay.
So where was it? Anyway, I was there and I didn't see anybody. There was just 2 or 3 of us up there talking. He walked away. There was nobody else in the cemetery, and that's the picture we got. So we could sit there and argue about it for the next 100 years and couldn't convince each other that it's a real paranoia. Where it's paranoia, where it's paranormal, where it's pareidolia. There's just no way to tell. I just leave it up to the person. I took the picture. There it is. You know, if you want to think it's paranormal or not, I really don't care.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
That's an interesting photo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where was I going with this? Another story of Bachelor's Grove.
We got.
Okay, I know where I wanted to go. Remember me telling you the woods were haunted? Okay, this is a short one. Take a couple of minutes. Remember me telling you the woods were haunted, and there's foundations of the old German settlers' homes back in the back. There's also kind of an empty area where the Indian village used to be. Anyway, I was back at one of the foundations. If you ever hear the one with the silo, so if you take the main path, you'll pass a house with a well, a foundation with a well, for trees and over. It's a pretty good hike in through the woods. You'll come up against a house foundation with a well and a silo. Remains of a silo. I was there, and you know Mikey on with Dale, right? You've heard me mention Mikey's name, and in fact, when I know me, and Mikey said, "Of course, you know, because I'm the one that got him on Dale's group."
Right.
Anyway, we were back there with this lady who used to sit there. Right. And you know what ghostwriting is? You know, where you just lose control of your writing and you write down stuff from a spirit, supposedly.
Right.
She was going to do that. She followed us back there. And I wasn't getting anything on Echo Box. We were just about to close up and just leave. And all of a sudden I heard this real statically, like somebody changed the station violently on a radio station. And I heard this voice. I couldn't quite catch what it said, but I could tell it was words, and it sounded like something. Was that laughing? And I got it home, played it back, and it was a male's voice that come in and said, "She's wearing a blonde hat." What? He said, "She's wearing a blonde hat." And then I hear a male's voice and a woman's voice laughing. And then I heard the big static noise again, and they were gone, never heard them again.
That's strange.
Well, the lady who was doing the ghostwriting, she wore a long blonde wig. And a wig, they really didn't have that name back in, 1830s or back in the 1700s when people were there. They called it kind of a hat.
Right.
And she was wearing this long blonde wig, and they were laughing at her wig.
Huh. That's
and
weird.
speaking in complete sentences. She's wearing a blonde hat. I mean, in a device with no complete words recorded into it.
That's pretty amazing.
And with Echovox, we had a guy back there that would try to prove it to people that Echovox was actually talking to spirits. He would pick a random piece of shoe or shirt, a hat, anything, and say, "What color is this?" And almost immediately we get red, green, yellow, whatever color it was. I had a group back there one day, and I said a couple of things, and they responded. This guy comes up, points to the girl that was with him, and said, "What color is her T-shirt?" And this was during early spring or late fall. I don't know. It was cold. I was pretty well wrapped up. She had a T-shirt. She had a long sleeve shirt. She had a sweater and a coat on. So we're talking about 3 layers of material on top of her T-shirt. He said, "What color is her T-shirt?" Only he, I guess it was her boyfriend, and saw her put the T-shirt on, or saw her before she put her coats on. He knew what color it was, didn't say it. She did not respond with what color it was. I had no clue. So there's no way I pre-programmed Echovox to say this. He gave, the voice gave the correct color almost immediately.
Oh, wow. That's
and everybody
neat.
said, "Oh my God." And then another time I was back there with another group, and this lady had a thermometer, like the one you're familiar with, the thermometer on a male meter, right?
Yes. Yep.
It's always changing,
right?
And it can give you hundredths of a degree of it changing. It's just sitting there flying if you're moving it.
Yeah.
She just had a thermometer like that, and we discovered a cold spot about 10 feet from the Patrick Stone, and she stuck her thermometer in there, and it was 63, 64 degrees air temperature there. In fact, it was 63, 64 degrees all over Chicago by the weather at that time. Just a kind of a blanket of air, that temperature that day. And this was air not in the, that had been in shade actually for a long time. Square, at about the same height as a refrigerator, like a very large refrigerator, that was 30 degrees below what the air temperature was. This at one time on her thermometer, and we're standing there in T-shirts, short sleeve shirts, whatever, because 65 degrees in Chicago is a nice day. And she got that temperature, and she started moving it around, and it would graze up back to over 60 degrees when she moved it out of that square. She moved it back in the square. It dropped down to nearly freezing. It dropped down below to about 31 point something a couple of times, and was hovering around 35 degrees, which is 30 degrees below the air temperature. And there was nothing. There was not a tree. There was not a stone. There wasn't a rock. There was no reason for that air temperature to be that way. And at Camp Douglas, I just had a real cheap cell meter, and I hadn't gotten anything at Camp Douglas. I was walking away, and all of a sudden I got a hit on it and started measuring, moving it around, and come up with about a meter square, floating about 4 or 5 feet off the ground. I could pull the meter back out of that square, and it would go to nothing. And we say, if you want to talk to us, peg the meter. And it would peg the meter, where if we moved it back out of the square, we got nothing. It wouldn't budge.
Yeah.
But there was nothing in that square. It wasn't on the ground. And we sat there for 30 minutes trying to, just answering yes or no questions, because that's all you can do with a meter response, and got yes or no responses with that meter and just a square meter of air.
That's weird.
And we sat there just looking at each other, how is this happening? It's just weird. That's
sure.
the only way you can explain it. And that's some of the stuff you can't do. If you ever get a chance, go down there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a public park. There's also within walking distance. Within walking distance, it's very close to Martin Luther King. In fact, it's Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Yeah.
But you go a couple blocks south of there. And the reason it's called Camp Douglas is because Stephen A. Douglas, who debated Lincoln, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
You remember Lincoln, of course. His tomb is within 3 minutes walking distance from the park. And if on certain times during the summer, on a nice day, you can actually walk into his tomb and see his. Dale is the only person I know who's actually investigated Stephen A. Douglas's tomb and Lincoln's tomb.
Yeah.
Now, I've never been to Lincoln's tomb. I've, of course, been in Stephen Douglas's tomb. But Dale's the only person I know of who's investigated both tombs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the stuff you've got in Chicago is just amazing. But we got some interesting spots here.
Cool. Yeah.
Now, at the Humphrey House,
I'm sorry to lose
down here in
connection. We got
Monticello,
like 5 minutes left, and so I'll probably have to cut you off.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Lynn? Hello.
I've enjoyed it.
I lost him right here at the end.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, hold on, let me. We got 5 minutes, so we're gonna have to end it pretty quick. Unfortunately.
I like to say
That's
good night,
crazy
everybody.
right at the end. Dang it. 5 feet here in Lynn. Lynn, if you can't hear me, I really appreciate it, and we're definitely gonna have to have you back on. That's awesome. All the stories and stuff. We're gonna have you back on so we can do a part 2 of this. If you can hear me out there, I don't know, but I appreciate you coming on, Lynn, and we'll have you back on for part 2 some night so we can hear the rest of these stories, because that's pretty interesting. Well,
like I said, good night, everybody.
There he is, I think. I'm trying to get
I've
him
enjoyed
back
being
on,
here,
guys. Good night. Thanks, Lynn. Good night. I heard that. All right, guys. That was Lynn Dorman, our special guest tonight here on the Crawford County, Illinois Ghost Hunter Society live talk show, episode number 10. Facebook only allows 4 hours. We get to the 4-hour mark, we have to start a part 2. So they will cut you off at 4 hours, unfortunately. So that's our time limit for the show. But I could have went on all night talking to Lynn. We are definitely going to have him back on the show in the near future, so we can hear more of his stories and do a part 2 and talk with some of the stuff he didn't get to tell about. But again, I can't thank him enough for being on our show tonight. I want to thank all you guys out there for watching our show. We will be doing some investigations probably this coming week. We kind of did some private investigations over the 4th of July with the full moon and everything that we could not go live on. So we are going to do some live investigations for you guys for the next week, probably. I mean, we've got several investigations coming up, but stay tuned. Keep watching our Facebook page, guys. check out our website at crawfordcountyghosthunters.org. If you're out there watching, definitely check it out. And our email, if you want to give us an email, it's illinoishauntings@gmail.com. We will answer all questions, or try to anyway, regarding ghosts and hauntings. If you have any type of paranormal activity, contact us by email. We have a phone number on there, or you can message us on our page. Also check out our Facebook page if you're not watching on Facebook, Hunters, or go to our YouTube channel at YouTube.com/Crawford County Ghost Hunters. But again, I'd like to thank everybody out there for watching. We will keep you updated. We have a lot of investigations coming up, so keep an eye on our page. Try to get my stuff to go off here. But yeah, we've got Ashmore State's coming up on August. Well, actually July. I always say August. I don't know why, but we got Pennsylvania in August. So stay tuned. We're going to be doing Gettysburg, Pennsylvania in August. We're going to be doing the Ashmore States on July 25th. So we got a lot of investigations, a lot of cool investigations that we are going to be talking about. So I am out of here, guys. We've got like 3 minutes till they shut us off. So have a good evening, everybody, and I will see you on the next one.